Chapter 770, Another Journey. Chapter 770, Another Journey. Proofreader, Papatonks. Chu Ching Chang giggled, then teased him. Why are you suddenly so clingy like a child? Yes, I'm a child, and I want to stick to you for as long as I live shit. However, Zhuofan didn't get to act spoiled as much as he wanted as he lifted his head from that fragrance hair, exclaiming, T, this is incredible. Chu Ching Chang turned around and gave him a curious look. What is it, Zhuofan? What happened? I advanced to the 5th layer of Radiant Stage. Yet I only slept. Zhuofan stood dumbstruck for a moment, then looked in shock at her. Ching Chang, your empty spirit body is as amazing as they say. After just a night of dual cultivation, you helped me advance. Come, there's no time to waste. Let's do it again. Blushing, Chu Ching Chang glared. In the middle of the day? People will laugh at us. Who will? We're doing an honorable thing, dual cultivation. Come on, I just can't wait anymore. We'll boost our strength while also tightening our marital bond. Zhuofan beamed, sitting on the bed with a nasty glimmer in his eyes. Chu Ching Chang perked her mouth, faking resistance as she followed him. However, they didn't get to start as urgent knocking came from the door. Ahem, sect leader Zhua. As any other cultivator, you could dual cultivate how much you like. But you're our leader now. Doing it in broad daylight is setting a bad example. Elder Yuan, Zhuofan cried out, and Chu Ching Chang blushed, knowing the old coot heard them. She glared at him and rushed to open the door. Chu Ching Chang, with a red face, slightly bowed before Elder Yuan. Zhuofan looked annoyed. Master, I thought that since I'm a sect leader, I'm the boss here, so there can't be anyone stupid enough to listen in on my chambers. That's why I didn't set up a barrier. How is it a respectable old man, as yourself, have such a deviant hobby? Elder Yuan's face twitched and shook his head before he sat at the table. I don't have a twisted hobby. I just came to inform you that you have to set off. Set off? The two looked stunned, with Zhuofan asking, Set off where? I just became the sect leader, and now I'm going to leave? Elder Yuan smiled and revealed a jade slip. See for yourself. Congratulations, you two. After consulting with the elders and exalted of Double Dragon Manor, you have been chosen to enter Double Dragon Manor as disciples. This is a golden chance. In a couple of decades, when you come from Double Dragon Manor, things will be very different. You'll become a real power in Western lands. That will also be the time when Double Dragon Manor will become a real Middle 3 sect. Elder Yuan's eyes flickered and Zhuofan quirked an eyebrow after scanning the jade slip. The names of all chosen are released together. Sword God Sects Wen Tao, Xie Tianshang, Hellion Flames Yin Mo, Ultimate Clarity Sects Yi Lin, and Wu Qingxiu are all here. Haha, of course. Elder Yuan chuckled. You met all of them at the Double Dragon Gathering. After 20 years or so, you'll constantly be in touch. You'll now just get ready for it. No matter what grudges you formed in the Double Dragon Gathering, you'll be cultivating together now and smooth things over. This must be Double Dragon Manor's plan. Throwing the jade slip on the table, Zhuofan shook his head. That Yi Lin is savage and you expect me to play nice with him for decades? Humph. I've heard about him, and he's almost as bad as you. So you don't have to avoid him. You two are practically made of the same cloth. Elder Yuan chuckled and stood up. Well, get ready for your journey. Shui Ruohua and the others are waiting for you. So soon, Zhuofan started. Elder Yuan teased. I know you're newlyweds and are very lively, but this jade slip has been with me for a long time already. Other sects must have sent their disciples by now. You need to go now if you want to keep up. You can just get physical all you want in the Double Dragon Manor anyway. Ugh, Chu Ching Chang blushed and lowered her head. Zhuofan was stumped. I never knew this old coot was so lewd. He just keeps being blunt about our marital privilege. The two got ready and followed Elder Yuan outside the sect barrier. Demon scheming sects elders were already waiting to send them off with the Luo clan. Zhuofan's group came out, and Venerable Qi and Bai stepped up, cupping their hands and bowing. Sect leader, don't worry. While sect leader is cultivating in the Double Dragon Manor, we and High Venerable will handle everything. What handling it with High Venerable? You're clearly making yourself the second Venerable. I haven't promoted you yet, and you guys are so thoughtful you kicked Venerable Sure off his chair to take his place. You guys sure are ambitious. No matter, not when you're on my side. It's not like I have any other candidate to be the second Venerable. Joie Fan smiled and patted their shoulder with a nod. I'll leave it to you. But if anything bad happens, you are to follow High Venerable's every order. Yes, sir. The two's hearts jumped. Joie Fan gave all the power to High Venerable, warning us to curb our greed. Knowing Joie and High Venerable were so close, the two were relieved. Elder Yuan spoke. Joie Fan, you're now the sect leader of Double Dragon Manor, not like other disciples. After you reach the Double Dragon Manor, you must greet the Exalted as one. I figure Double Dragon Manor will treat you like one as well. You must not be like before, lacking mannerism. I got it, High Venerable. Joie Fan nodded. Elder Yuan smiled with a ripple. The sect barrier closed, and Joie Fan, with the Luo clan, set off, leaving the sect's elders to return to their matters. Only High Venerable remained for longer, muttering, I hope the Exalted will notice the situation and understand our intention without making it too hard on us. High Venerable, the Exalted were specifically after Joie Fan and the others when they sent that jade slip. What do we do? Did we offend the two Exalted? Elder Shi of the Impermanence 5 appeared behind Elder Yuan side and took out another jade slip. This is what the Exalted sent to me alone, hoping to train Joie Fan, such a marvelous talent, and take him from us. Since they care for Joie Fan, how could we not as well? I had worked fast in getting Joie Fan's new status, so the leaders of the Western lands should not be as forceful in taking our sect leader. I hope that by acting like a sect leader before the Exalted, they would understand my intent and let this go. If they wanted to take him, there's nothing I could do to stop them. Ha. Don't worry, High Venerable. Exalted Double Dragons care about their reputation and won't be so forceful. How could they lead Western lands otherwise? Elder, she consoled. Now that Joie Fan is our sect leader, no matter how much they want him, they can't do anything about it. High Venerable's move was brilliant. Elder Yuan smiled. Ha. You don't have to praise me. I had no other choice. Or, when Joie Fan took them in to attack Mystical Heaven Sect, I just had to use my name as High Venerable, and it would have nulled the token he used to force them. It would have cut his uprising and his rise short. But in the end, Wu Yue became a sacrifice to keep Joie Fan here. I had no choice but to make him step down. High Venerable shook his head, his eyes flashing. Everything had been going according to High Venerable's plan. It wasn't circumstances that forced him to get Xia Wu Yue to step down. It was what he chose. I wonder what they would say if Xia Wu Yue and Joie Fan knew this. I ended up making use of these shrewd youngsters, all for the future of the sect. Send a jade slip. The hare is out of the burrow. It's time to strike. Xia Wu Yue stood on a far mountain overlooking everything. Seeing Elder Yuan's bent back as he returned to the sect, he sighed, Master, since you forsook me, you only have yourself to blame. Venerable Sure mocked. Sect leader, a great man must be ruthless. Since you want to get back your seat, then stop playing the victim. It's too fake. This was your idea after all. No one's forcing you to fight your master. Yes, no one forced me. It's me who's forcing myself. Xia Wuyue's eyes shone and gnashed his teeth with resolve. I need to get everything I had back, and I'll kill anyone that stands in my way. Chapter 771. Lung Wuchang's Worry. Chapter 771. Lung Wuchang's Worry. Proofreader, Papatonks. Brother Joie, we'll see separate here. When you have time, you must come to the Luo clan. Mom, Dad, I have to go as well. When you're in trouble and want to have a row, don't forget about young Sanzi. After leaving the demon scheming sect, the groups parted. Luo Yunhai took his clansmen back home, taking Yongning and Schwanger with him. Young Sanzi wanted to go back to the All-Beast mountain range. Joie Fan and his contingent of girls had to go to Double Dragon Manor, although Joie Fan disdained this. He had to do his duty as the new sect leader. For a long time following, Demon Scheming Sect would depend on Double Dragon Manor. He had to give his respects, cupping his hands. Joie Fan put on a hard face. Thank you everyone for all you've done. We'll surely meet again. We will, Steward Joie. Li Jingtian, Chiu Yunhai and the men from Luo clan replied in kind, then flew away with Luo Yunhai and the lead Shuang'er and Yongning were filled with unwillingness. But then they saw Chu Qingsheng and left as well since Zhuo Fan was glued to Sister Qingsheng. The girls had no chance whatsoever, just like Sister Qingsheng said. All that mattered was that he was fine seeing them leave. Zhuo Fan's heart turned morose. He might have been a demonic emperor, but death was death, taking everything his past life meant with it while now. As a mere mortal domain cultivator, he had so much Zhuo Fan looked above and smiled. Chu Qingsheng was touched, as well as she smiled in return at this moment. The two were in utter peace and content. A month later, Luo Yunhai took the experts back to Luo clan at Blackwind Mountain. Only while they had gone in full force, now they came back with heavy losses. A third of the men had died, and the rest were heavily wounded seeing this. The nervous higher-ups of the Luo alliance were shocked after they heard Luo Yunhai acted on his own as an elder of the alliance. Grandmother stood up. Luo clan head, what has happened? You took all the power of the Luo alliance, and now you came with such heavy casualties? Yeah, you have to give us an explanation. We have staked all our houses into Luo alliance. Even as an alliance leader, you can't just take everyone to a mortal battle. Xie Xiaofeng was also scolding Long Yaifi was quite calm, but seeing his wet brow, it was clear he was nervous inside. Only after seeing the defeated army back did he relax. Let's all calm down. The Luo alliance has grown much these years, spreading through the dozens of small kingdoms around us. Our power is constantly growing, all under Luo clan's leadership. We can't just crucify Luo clan head for his first oversight. At the very least, it wasn't a crushing defeat. It's far better than how we ended up. Pavilion Lord Long, thank you. No wonder you're the first house we struck an alliance with. You have so much trust in us, haha. Luo Yunhai thanked him. Long Yaifi twirled his mustache. Luo clan head is too kind. But shouldn't Sir explain why you went out with full force without giving us any word? The others also nodded, their eyes boring into Luo Yunhai. Sorry, it was all so sudden and had no time to consult. I went out because Luo Yunhai took a deep breath and began retelling all that happened. The others now understood, but even so, a snort came, going so far for an old steward, putting Luo alliance in danger. Do you take all our house's interests as childish? When we, the Li clan, joined the Luo alliance, we didn't know it was so naive. The eyes of everyone focused on an arrogant man with a long beard, Clan Headley. Your clan might be known in the Wreathed Mountains Kingdom, but you are far from having the right to run your mouth in Luo alliance. Long Yaifi glared. A backwater clan in a tiny nation sure is blind. What did you say? The man roared. Long Yaifi, the Luo alliance has been around for only 5 years. You may be much more qualified than me in it, but you're not that much better than us new clans who joined. There's also our own force that joined Luo alliance's military. You're telling me we have no right to know when alliance leader uses them for his own selfish reasons? Long Yaifi spoke coldly. That is not what we're saying. But what alliance leader had done was rightfully so. Rightfully? For an old servant? Yes, for the previous steward. No matter how much it cost Luo alliance, it will all be worth it. Long Yaifi mocked. A clan from a tiny nation has no inkling of true talent. Zhuo Fan is worth everything we have. Did you know that the Luo alliance, including Tianyu Empire's entire power, was all taken by him? Without him, there wouldn't be the prestigious Luo alliance of today. Once, I signed an alliance with him, and now I became the first elder of Luo alliance, overseeing trading with dozens of nations. And now that he needed our help, we'd be giving it, because paying him back is only right. Moreover, didn't you hear? He's the demon scheming sect leader. Later, with the support from sect of the Western lands, the Luo alliance's expansion will only increase. Did you think about that? Ugh, the man's heart sank and grumbled, but then he said, this time subdued, but it's too dangerous. What if he failed? Wouldn't we lose everything? That's impossible. Long Yaifi mocked as he spoke with utter confidence. That kid is very shrewd. Since he does it, that means it's certain of success. I understand him too well, haha. The man fell silent at his laughter, however. Luo Yunhai shouted, looking solemn, "Pavilion Lord Long, you might have come from a merchant's house, but forgive me for having to stop you there." Ugh! Luo Yunhai looked at him curiously. Luo clan follows loyalty and righteousness. Luo alliance will be no different. Every one of you that entered the Luo alliance is treated as my clansman. When you meet with danger, I'll brave anything to help you. Looking hard at everyone in the room, Luo Yunhai continued, "Today I led Luo Alliance's forces to help Brother Zhua, not for the chance of being paid back, but because he's my brother, the man who saved our clan and established Luo Alliance. Without him, there would be no us. Must we bicker over pennies, even with fellow clansmen? Even if he failed today, the Luo Alliance would still support him, despite the losses. This is the loyalty of the Luo Alliance. If any of you find themselves in conflict with our way, only looking at numbers, you're free to leave. I won't force you." Luo Yunhai flicked his sleeve as he left, leaving the elders looking at each other with shame. Is he the same young clan head Zhua Fan brought up? That punk would fight tooth and nail for every coin. While the young clan head, Zhua Fan, you left so much room for the Luo clan to grow. The elders beamed, watching Luo Yunhai go. Nothing in this world can be better than meeting such a loyal boss. Back to Luo clan's hall, Luo Yunhai did not get to take his seat as Luo Yunchang rushed over, yelling, "Yunhai, did you take everyone out to fight? Do you know those alliance elders wanted to bring our entire clan down?" "Sister, it's fine. The damage isn't big," Luo Yunhai explained with a bright smile. Then, laughter came from outside. "Ha ha ha. Young miss, for clan head to go all out regardless of consequences, he had to have done it for one man only." The two turned around to see an old man walking over. Unwanted contriver Lung Wuchang. "Sir Lung, you mean?" Luo Yunchang recalled something, and Lung Wuchang nodded. Luo Yunchang turned to Luo Yunhai. "Is what Sir Lung said true? Why you saw him?" Luo Yunhai shrugged and sighed as he explained. Luo Yunchang's mood sank. "I see. He, an edifice Lord Chu." She then left with red eyes. Luo Yunhai wanted to comfort her, but Lung Wuchang stopped him. "Clan head, young miss wants to be alone. Let her go. I, however, am more worried about Steward Zhua." "Sir Lung, what do you mean?" Luo Yunhai asked hastily. Lung Wuchang sighed. "A woman is a hero's downfall. Steward Zhua and Edifice Lord Chu getting married is a good thing, but it also made him soft. Before Xie Wuyue and Sect Leader Xian are removed, they would put him in the worst disaster, one that might even get him killed. I'm sure Steward Zhua is aware of this, but with his heart solely focused on Edifice Lord Chu, he would rather take the risk." Luo Yunhai's eyes widened and his brow shook. Chapter 772, Soul Harmony Expert Ambush. Chapter 772, Soul Harmony Expert Ambush. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh. 4 figures landed before a noisy town. Zhua Fan, Chu Qingcheng, Shui Hua, and Danner in a month. The 4 had made most of their journey to Double Dragon Manor. All we had to see so far was mostly wilderness. A bustling town like this is most welcome. We can finally rest. How about we stay for a day? Zhua Fan suggested. The girls nodded with a smile. Danner threw a coy smile at Zhua Fan. "Brother Zhua, it must have been so hard always staying in the wild. Now you'll have time to catch up with Sister Qingchang tonight." "Wretched girl, say that again." Chu Qingcheng blushed and glared at her. Zhua Fan merely touched her arm and laughed. "Ha ha, Danner, you understand us so well. Since you know my plan, we'll each mind our own. Why, you're just as bad as her." Chu Qingcheng turned her red cheeks to glare at him. Zhua Fan snickered, walking forward. "Come, let's find an inn first." Seeing his quick step, the girls giggled. After getting married, Zhua Fan is like another person. At least he's not as cold as ice. Shui Ruahua spoke. Chu Qingcheng nodded. Looking at him so lively and carefree is all I wanted. Just that, is this what he wanted? Regardless of what he wanted before, now he only wants you. Don't think about it too much. Shui Ruahua patted her shoulder. Danner came over giggling. Yeah, he's so much better now, no longer crude and rude. They say a woman changes a man. You're so amazing, Sister Qingqing. Chu Qingchang shook her head and sighed. But as she saw Zhua Fan so happy, the weight on her heart slowly lifted. She wondered if her presence could wear down this man's ambition. But seeing him so cheerful now, what did it matter? Qingcheng, let's rest here. Zhua Fan stopped before a tavern and gave the girls a bright smile. Chu Qingchang sighed, feeling with joy as she nodded. The girls followed him in taking a table. A waiter was right there to take their order. He soon came with the tea, as the other tables were noisy despite the clamor. Zhua Fan looked at Chu Qingcheng's delicate features and closed his eyes in peace. This is the life of the common people. It's so much easier than those days of fighting and killing to survive. Oh, Sister Qingcheng, since we're going to double Dragon Manor, are we from Mystical Heaven Sect or Demon Scheming Sect? It should be the Demon Scheming Sect, since we betrayed the Mystical Heaven Sect and they must have cast us out. Danner cried out, and Shui Ruohua answered first with a bitter smile Danner did not understand. But we're righteous cultivators. When we turn demonic like this, we've never trained in any demonic cultivation methods. Silly, we've stopped being righteous since we betrayed our sect. Even if we don't become demonic, we're still demonic cultivators. That's too random. You think? That's the righteous path, not allowing the slightest breach in rules or you'll be judged. Danner and Shui Ruohua chattered on about what side they were on now. Zhua Fan closed his eyes and sipped his tea with a smile. Righteous and demonic. Who in this world can truly set them apart? What was righteous? What was demonic? Nothing more than biased notions people decided on themselves. Elder Yuan is right after all. Righteous and demonic are paths leading towards Tao. Ha ha ha. Only a fool will argue about making a distinction, sinking into this pit and straying from Tao. Fools, utter idiots. 9 serenities. Suddenly, Zhua Fan furrowed his brow, hearing a voice calling out 9 serenities. He found that he couldn't even open his eyes and felt utterly powerless. He could only cry. You know about the 9 serenities, Emperor? 9 serenities, we've been waiting for you. You must come back. You must attain Tao and return. Who's there? Zhua Fan flashed his eyes open, his brow soaked as he looked around in panic. The girls looked at him in worry. Zhua Fan, what's wrong? What's wrong? Zhua Fan frowned, filled with doubt. All he felt was the strong beating of his heart, feeling his chest. Zhua Fan felt it sink, as if a weight had been placed on it, wiping his brow. Chu Qingcheng muttered, Zhua Fan, you were asleep. We've been calling you to wake up, but you've been out for an hour. I've been asleep for an hour? Startled, Zhua Fan was shocked. With his nature, there was no way he'd fall asleep so deeply. That's like handing my life on a silver platter. He then recalled the voice and felt as if it brought him to another place. This had to be why he didn't wake up. Danner gave him a hard look and grinned. Brother Zhua, you've been so tense lately. Frustrated maybe? Rolling his eyes, Zhua Fan wanted to glue this last mouth shut. As strong as I'm alive, nothing can affect me. Moreover, this brat only knows how to learn bad words. Chu Qingcheng was agape, glaring at her with a red face. Shui Ruohua gripped hard on her shoulder and spoke in anger. Girl, who taught you to say that? Hold it. However, Zhua Fan cut her cursing short, and he shouted. Danner lit up and teased. You're really frustrated? Shut it. Zhua Fan glared at her and muttered, Haven't you noticed that the town became quiet? The girls looked around and found the entire place empty. Not even the owner or the waiter was here. Gone was the bustle from outside. People no longer walked the street. The eerie breeze lifting the dust from the deserted street gave it a dark tone. Chu Qingcheng frowned and tensed. The town is suddenly empty, just like that time with Yenemo. What? Yenemo again? The other girls cried. Zhua Fan shook his head, his heart sinking. I fear this is worse. Yen Emo struck at night, and we met by chance. But this is broad daylight when all vanished. This shows this was a damn trap. As he finished, a fierce gale blew and a heavy pressure slammed into them cracked. The inn began to disintegrate, with sawdust slowly falling to the floor. Zhua Fan panicked and rushed the girls outside. Be careful. Rumble. A loud noise echoed, and the entire inn was razed to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust as it formed a tornado. Once the dust scattered, They saw 100 meters wide palm imprint into the ground where the inn was above. It was an old man with silver hair, looking down with cold eyes. Humph! You're not the winner of Double Dragon Gathering for nothing. Most outstanding young demonic cultivator of the generation. You managed to sense my palm and dodged. Who are you? Why are you after me? Zhuo Fan pulled the girls to their feet, his heart racing. From that palm, he could tell the old man was stronger than an ethereal stage expert. He was in the soul harmony stage. This was an expert no lower 3 sect could send out. It made his heart sink. Laying such a huge trap, there's no way he is alone. Does that mean there's no escape? Zhuo Fan clenched his fists as his mind raced to find a way out. Zhuo Fan, we meet again. Only this time, a vile spawn like you won't escape again. A very familiar cawing was heard. Zhuo Fan sighed inside. He never thought that his biggest worry would come find him. Chapter 773, Life and Death. Chapter 773, Life and Death. Proofreader, Papatonks. Universal Righteous Sect, Zhao Dezhu. Zhuo Fan squinted at the loathsome face. The girls were stunned. They never thought the one to come after them would be the last of the superior 3 sects. Universal Righteous Sect. No wonder they sent a soul harmony expert. A superior 3 sect sure had the power. Strutting over, with dozens of strong ethereal stage experts behind, Zhao Dezhu sneered. Well, Zhuo Fan, you didn't see this one coming, did you? Yes, it was truly unexpected. Zhuo Fan was solemn. I know I stepped on many toes, but I never thought I'd be meeting you. Based on hatred, Mystical Heaven Sect hates me the most, but I crushed it. The next would be Venerable, sure, but with High Venerable around, they can't move as they want to set an ambush for me. Third would be Heaven Trailing Sect, but since they're the last middle 3 sect, I had my ways to cope with them. But out of all of many others, Universal Righteous Sect was the last I thought would come. Ha ha ha. Taking it logically, our setting off and paths were set. You and my sect are quite far too, hardly communicating. So how did you know about our path so clearly? Either you had it prepared from the start to ambush me, or there's someone in the demon scheming sect feeding you info. But my falling out with the old coots is fairly recent. So when did you make contact? Frowning, Zhuo Fan pondered. Then he chuckled. Right, the Double Dragon Gathering, Lucia and Venerable, sure. You got in touch then. Zhao Dezhu's heart sank, looking hard at Zhuo Fan and laughing. They all say you're shrewd and a thorn in the side. Now I know for sure. If a demon like you isn't purged now, you'll soon cause havoc in the world. Today, my Universal Righteous Sect will vanquish demons for the good of humanity. Sigh, what a blunder. Face-palming, Zhuo Fan ignored Zhao Dezhu's bragging and sighed. I didn't much care about the demon scheming sect at first. It was not the Luo clan who was built step by step anyway. So many problems were ignored. I thought I would go back to the Luo clan after the job was done and not get involved in its politics. But who knew that would come back to bite me? Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan pointed at the girls and spoke in a hard tone. Brother, you want to purge demons, that's fine. But leave the righteous cultivators out of this. Chu Qingcheng tightened her hold on Zhuo Fan's hand as she shook her head. Shui Ruohua and Danner were firm in staying as well. But Zhuo Fan didn't look at them, only at Zhao Dezhu. Humph, being around a demon like you, no one is innocent. They're all taken in by the demonic way. They all must die. Whoosh. Zhao Dezhu raved, but was cut short as something came at him. He felt death looming and slanted his head in reflex whoosh. The attack passed his face and sent a cold shiver down his spine. Then he heard the cries from behind. 5 ethereal stage experts were headless, falling to the ground. Then their souls came out and shouted their anger at losing their body's divine eye of the void's second stage, void annihilation. Zhuo Fan, Zhao Dezhu roared. He didn't think Zhuo Fan would be so savage, striking without a signal and killing 5 of his brothers. He almost died as well as he turned around at Zhuo Fan. He found Zhuo Fan had grabbed Chu Qingcheng's hand. As they all fled, it was blatant disregard. Zhao Dezhu was fuming mad. Men, start the array. Yes, sir. A ripple crossed the entire space and like a net sealed the town. At the edge of it, Fan could see 500 ethereal stage experts sitting cross-legged and holding the barrier. Rua's brow shook as she cried. 500 ethereal stage experts. Only someone like the Universal Righteous Sect can unleash such a force. This is like a lower 3 sect's entire power. Humph. That's why I said meeting the Universal Righteous Sect is the worst. Besides the sect guardians that never leave home, they could send any kind of force and could easily crush a lower 3 sect. We four are now facing such a destructive power. Fan gnashed his teeth, sweat gathering on his forehead. Danner was afraid. Brother Zhua, what do we do? Don't worry. With me here, you'll be safe. Fan revealed a smile as 2 golden halos appeared in his right eye. Divine Eye of the Void, 2nd stage. Void Annihilation. A ripple shot out that slammed into the barrier and punched a hole in it. Blood spurted out as dozens of ethereal stage experts paled instantly from the heavy backlash. Fan just then arrived before the barrier. He saw the hole in it and flicked his right hand, punching as it oozed a brutal red color boom. In that instant, Chilan Arm's power was unleashed, cracking the barrier. With a loud explosion, he made a gap in it and forced dozens of more ethereal stage experts to puke blood and collapse. The others maintaining the array were shaking like leaves, but the signs they made were firm. A shame it was of no use. Fan had breached a path for them to escape. Run. Pulling Chu Qingcheng, Fan shouted. The 4 rushed through the gap and flew away. Zhao Dezhu stomped in anger. Curses, this prick has a skill to break arrays. The barrier is useless on him. You damn fools. He escaped, so what are you holding it up for? Get it down and chase after them. The men finally reacted and took down the barrier to give chase. Almost 500 ethereal stage experts went after only 4 people. Their mighty auras felt like that of a tsunami. Brother Zhua, they're almost caught up. What do we do? Danner saw the savage energy behind, and panicked. Fan was solemn. Keep running and don't look back. Don't falter or it's over. This is life or death. Yes. Danner shook in fright, but then recovered as she focused on flying. Chu Qingcheng was also solemn, grabbing Danner with one hand and Fan with the other as she rushed forward, but then she noticed one hand was empty. Fan was not there. Chu Qingcheng looked back to see Fan stopping Fan. Chu Qingcheng cried out. Fan shouted before she stopped. Don't look back and just run. Qingcheng. Shui Ruohua looked back, knowing what he planned with tears in her eyes. Chu Qingcheng saw Fan's determination and gnashed her teeth. She pulled Shui Ruohua and Danner as she flew faster. Shui Ruohua cried, Qingcheng, are you really leaving him? He's going against 500 ethereal stage experts and a soul harmony expert. I don't want to, but I have to. Chu Qingcheng's eyes were red. I'm too weak and will only burden him. It's better to leave first and escape from their chase. Then he can find his own way to escape. I believe that even in this dangerous situation, he can still come out alive. Chu Qingcheng might have spoken to the girls, or maybe to herself, to give her belief and a trust Fan, but she knew deep inside that the Universal Righteous Sect's force could wipe out a lower 3 sect. Fan's chances were slim at best. The girls could only pray for him. Chu Qingcheng held the other 2 with shaky hands as she flew, biting her lip till it bled. Shui Ruohua saw her pain and tightened her grip on Chu Qingcheng's hand. Don't worry, he'll be fine. Yeah, Brother Zhua always comes out alive. He got the strength and the wits. Danner consoled. Chu Qingcheng lowered her head as she kept flying. She really hoped that was true, but only she knew Fan saying for them to not look back was the same as saying goodbye. Chapter 774, Paper Tiger. Chapter 774, Paper Tiger. Proofreader, Papatonks. When people separate, they still hope to see each other one last time. So why did I tell her to not look back to see her again? Hovering and watching the girls vanish in the distance, Fan's eyes grew hazy. Maybe I don't want her to see me crying. Haha. Whoosh. A tremendous power came pressing down as a fierce gale fluttered his clothes. Zhao Daju came in front and cackled at his back. Ha ha ha. Weren't you running? Even if you broke the array, You think you could escape my 500 ethereal stage experts? In the end, you just didn't want to die like that. Closing his eyes, Zhuofan forced the mist away from his eyes as he spat. Since I can't escape, fighting is better. You really went all out, using 500 against me. What other way is there when dealing with a freak like you? We had to make sure a demon like you would never escape. Zhao Dezhu mocked and glanced at 24 men on the side. Go after the girls. The rest of you deal with the demon. Yes, sir. The 24 cupped their hands and were about to go after them. But just as they got to Zhuofan, a boom echoed out with a flash of scarlet and mournful cries. The 24 experts were thrown back. Battered and bloody, they all looked startled to see Zhuofan had before him a scarlet dragon hundreds of meters big blocking their way. It opened its bloody maw, looking at its prey with a savage glint in its eyes as it unleashed its mighty power. Zhao Dezhu snorted. Almighty Scarlet Dragon King? Humph, Zhuofan, you're taking your soul out so soon? You want to go all out? Those girls must be dear to you. Just some ignorant lasses, that's all. Zhuofan spoke heavily. Zhao Dezhu, you're only after my head. Well, here I am. Don't go dragging innocents into this. Zhao Dezhu smirked. Innocent? Ha ha ha. There's no such thing when they're involved with you. The universal righteous sect purges demons to the last one. Those girls will be snuffed out sooner or later. Boom! He did not finish as a fierce whirlwind lashed at them. The almighty Scarlet Dragon King's tail swipe completely blocked the way forward. Zhuofan turned around, his eyes filled with bloodlust. No one will get past me for as long as I breathe. Humph, show off. Zhao Dezhu mocked. You still want to stop my 500 experts? See how I cross your line. I won't kill you, but bring back the girls and rip them apart before your eyes. You'll see what end awaits all that hang around a demon like you. Ha! Laughing, Zhao Dezhu flicked his hand again, and 30 ethereal stage experts revealed their souls to attack blades, spears, axes. All kinds of souls were put on display, and unleashing their raw power as they came upon Zhuofan made the almighty Scarlet Dragon King swipe its tail at them. Boom. The loud explosions resounded and smoke rose. The power of those clashes made the rest of the ethereal stage experts to back away. When it cleared up, 20 universal righteous sect ethereal stage experts were now on the ground, bleeding from everywhere, while the last 10 were gasping and bleeding from their mouths, while before them was a wounded and battered Scarlet Dragon. But it stood in place, not making a single movement. The 30 ethereal stage experts' soul attack could still not budge. The huge dragon Zhuofan looked at them coldly with an ashen face. He quivered and spat blood, but he remained firm, like he was still fine, giving Zhao Dezhu a look of utter contempt. Monster! That was what their looks said, looking at Zhuofan in disbelief. One man taking 30 experts' attacks, yet still managing to heavily wound 20 while pushing back the rest, had already gone beyond the means of a simple human. His power was unheard of. He really was the best in Double Dragon Gathering to take down all the superior 3 sections. When Zhao Dezhu came back, they wouldn't believe it. But now, truth stared them right in the face. They all gasped and whispered from shock, and Zhao Dezhu was pissed off. He clenched his fists. He didn't come here to bolster his fame with new fans, but bury him for good. But now, these fools were oblivious of the situation. How can they admire this vile demon spawn? That's enough. Remember your place as righteous cultivators. Zhao Dezhu barked as he pointed at Zhao Dezhu. All of you attack. Give me his head, for Providence. Everyone startled awake and went for Zhuofan as they unleashed their power. Devoid of fear, Zhuofan grinned. Yes, come take my head. You must do it, for Providence. But it's also Providence who dictates how many of you actually come out alive out of this. Look at the 20 heavily wounded. They were no less brave than you, yet what did they get? At the end of the day, only the survivors get to enjoy the victory. You better think this through. Do you want to be expendable or a winner? You decide. Ugh. They all faltered, coming to a halt. As they looked like each other, no one seemed to be so keen on being first anymore. Brother, you take the lead, I'll watch your back. And end up dead? You do it. Humph. With but a casual reminder from Zhuo Fan, their inner self-preservation was brought to the surface before they realized it. They had lost all the courage and panicked. Now, no matter how many they are, once their hearts were shaken, they became nothing more than a rabble. Their numbers meant nothing. Zhuo Fan grinned in disdain, seeing them being so petty. At the same time, he held his stomach as blood kept flowing from his mouth. He was wounded gravely as well. If they came at him again, just a dozen would have been enough to finish him, but by driving a wedge between them and bringing out their selfishness, the paper tiger that was now Zhuo Fan stalled these hundreds of experts from coming over. Anyone would laugh at such a scene. The great force of sect was reduced to bickering fools, unable to get their hands on a wounded guy. Zhao Daju was stomping in anger, cursing, "You damn morons! What are you scared of? He's hanging by a thread. Attack. Get me his head, and I'll make sect leader commend you. Then why don't you go?" However, it had the opposite effect. One universal righteous sect disciple gave him a glare. Startled, Zhao Daju stammered, "Me?" Zhuo Fan was filled with deceit and endless trickery. Even if wounded, no one really knew what scheme he was hiding. "And you want me to go there?" When he had toyed with Yilin to such an extent. "If I go there, keeping my life will be a miracle. Why the hell would I go? I'm too young to die. What did I bring you all for then if not to get him instead?" However, seeing him scared, they were even more so. Now no one was willing to attack. Thus, the 500 experts of Universal Righteous Sect stared like fools at a wounded guy. Zhao Diju was outraged while Zhuo Fan grinned. He wasn't after escaping, though. While defeating 500 of them was impossible, he only hoped that by fighting them he bought the girls enough time. Zhuo Fan felt his insides burning as blood got caught in his chest and made it hard to breathe. Even so, he still stood there, pretending like he was fine. Clap. Someone clapped. "Ha ha! Even though a wounded paper tiger, you still managed to shake the resolve of 500 Universal Righteous Sect experts. No wonder," Zhao Daju said, "you'll be the righteous path's biggest calamity." Chapter 775. None Shall Pass. Chapter 775. None Shall Pass. Proofreader, Papatonks. Frowning, Zhuo Fan turned his head back as he felt his heart sinking not far from him. A thin, middle-aged man in white clothes came out from the trees. Seeing his mild smile but sharp eyes, Zhuo Fan knew this guy was anything but nice. What was more, he was also a soul harmony expert. Squinting, Zhuo Fan thought to himself, "It seems Universal Righteous Sect's expert they got is ready to strike." Following his thoughts, 7 lights flashed as more soul harmony stage cultivators showed up beside him, including the silver-haired old man he saw in the town. Such a display of force left Zhuo Fan sighing. "I could scare off 500 ethereal stage experts, but I have no chance against 8 soul harmony experts." Glancing at the 8, he began to calculate how to block them from going after Chu Qingsheng at this time. Zhuo Fan had no care for his life at all. All he wanted now was to stall for as much as possible. Zhao Diju greets the elders. Seeing the 8 people, the pissed and stuck Zhao Diju finally found his thick leg to hug. The other ethereal stage experts calmed down as well, ignoring them. The silver-haired old man frowned, staring at Zhuo Fan and at the powerful dragon soul. "There's so many of you, yet you couldn't even get rid of a brat after so long? I thought that when I'd come everything would be settled by now. But look at this mess. You have shamed the Universal Righteous Sect." Everyone's heart chilled, and they lowered their heads. But weren't there 4 of them? Why is there only 1? Where are the girls? At least show me their bodies. The silver-haired old man asked. Zhao beamed with a deep bow. "Elder, the 3 girls had run away. This brat blocked us here. We were about to take him down and then follow after them." "What? One man holding back 500? The silver-haired old man was outraged. "Humph, good, very good. You really are pathetic. There are hundreds of you, yet you can't even handle 4 people, ending up stuck dealing with just 1. Do you want me to step in? Is that it? To pick on the weak? If word gets out, the Universal Righteous Sect will have no name left. Ha ha ha. Zhao Diju, you petitioned the sect for so many people to help you. I thought you were dependable, but now I see you're nothing. You can't even take 4 people down with so many on your side? Would you like 500 more to get the job done?" Zhao Diju jerked back after being harangued. He went red from shame and unwillingness. Elder, this isn't about numbers, but how devious this brat is. Using his devil's tongue to incite chaos, turning all these people into a rabble. It doesn't matter, even if they were 1,000, they'd still end up the same. The more they are, the more chaos it'll be. Moreover, it's not exactly all our fault. Didn't I ask you to cut their escape now? Zhao Dezhu gave the contented elder in white a careful look, but did not dare to speak up. The silver-haired old man followed his gaze and asked in a dark tone, Elder Bai, we've discussed this before, that we would work together in cutting off every chance of escape. Why didn't you step in when the girls fled? How's it my fault? The elder chuckled and mocked. Elder Yin Shui, you were waiting together with me, yet always wanted to make a move and get them. So I figured that with a soul harmony expert and 500 ethereal stage experts, getting 4 brats still in the radiant stage would be a piece of cake. That's why my intervention would be pointless, just wandering around here on a leisure stroll. But whoever thought you'd let them freaking escape, humph. And after I came back, I found it even more ridiculous how 500 experts were being stopped by 1 brat. Ha, that's the biggest joke I've heard. Elder Yin Shui, that happened with your help even. Does that mean that all these disciples would be wiped out if it weren't for you? I now have a new understanding of your strength. From elder to executive to disciple, not one is worth anything. Elder Yin Shui's face twitched and went red. Then he glared at Zhao Dezhu, wishing he could pulverize him, seeing how the 4 ran away, and Zhao Dezhu led the 500 experts after them. He figured winning was in the bag. That was why he took his sweet time coming here rather than getting it over with fast, scared they would talk behind his back that he picked on someone weaker than him. Even if it was for the sect, it still hurt to hear it, but who knew that Zhao Dezhu would be such a moron to not even complete this simple task, even getting the elders involved and shaming them with this shameless act. If not for this brat being sect leader's disciple and the future pillar of the sect, he would have died on the spot, gasping. Elder Yin Shui's eyes flashed. Zhao Dezhu did not dare to look at him, lowering his head. He cursed Zhua Fan to high heavens. If not for this punk, I wouldn't have made a fool of myself before the elders. The other could see Elder Yin Shui was furious and smiled, giving him a way out. Elder Yin Shui, the girls shouldn't have gone far. It should be easy to catch up to them. Zhao Dezhu has his faults, but it won't matter. You're an important man and should be letting him remember this mistake. After we settle this, we'll handle it back at the sect. With his rear kissed, Elder Yin Shui nodded. The 8 looked at each other, then passed Zhua Fan together, totally ignoring him. Zhao Dezhu, we'll leave this to you. If you still can't do it with so many men, humph. Elder Yin Shui warned Zhao Dezhu bob his head. Elder Bai smiled. Children, don't let his words confuse you. If you manage to kill him, you'll all earn merit. If you let him escape, you'll all die. Yes, sir. Everyone shouted. An elder's order was different from Zhao Dezhu's, a disciple. He easily stirred these ethereal stage experts' fighting spirit. The elders nodded, then passed Zhua Fan. Without minding him, they didn't feel quite right by killing him themselves. They still had their name as righteous cultivators to keep. It was better to let them settle it. As for the girls, they had good use for them. Those constitutions should not go to waste. Boom. However, they did not get far, as an incoming explosion of power sent their clothes fluttering from almighty Scarlet Dragon King's tail. I told you, as long as I'm here, none shall pass me. Zhua Fan spoke coldly. The 8 elders looked at him with anger and shock, because they did not care about an ethereal stage expert at all. Zhao Dezhu mocked. Ha! Zhua Fan, you ignorant fool. You actually want to try and stop the 8 elders? Do you know the difference between soul harmony stage and ethereal stage? Yeah, we don't want to waste time on a pup. We have our status to maintain. So don't push it. Elder Bai sneered. And besides, you're not worthy. Zhua Fan had a sinister grin. Oh, since you don't want to attack, then just sit there, all right? The 8 elders' faces fell. Elder Yin Shui gave Zhua Fan a long look and took a deep breath. Fine, since this evil spawn wants to die at Soul Harmony Expert's hand, then I'll oblige you. Elder Yin Shui suddenly shook, and an incredible power came from him. The sudden surge forced the ethereal stage experts to falter back from the 100-meter huge hammer forming behind the elder. Humph! My soul is a tool's soul. Heaven's smashing hammer. Its might is unprecedented. Hum! The huge hammer then combined with his body, making his body swell and releasing silver light. The mere clasping of his fists sent powerful ripples. After achieving harmony, my body is like a diamond. My punch crushes mountains. Even your heaven dragon soul will be turned to dust. With a creepy glint in his eyes, Elder Yin grinned. If you had fought these ethereal stage experts, you might have lived longer. But since you want to die, humph, then be my guest. Elder Yin shot straight for Zhuo Fan. The relentless fist smashed into his chest, brutal and savage. Chapter 776, Demon Sword's Power. Chapter 776, Demon Sword's Power. Proofreader, Papatonks. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan. You've angered our soul harmony stage elders. You must really want to die. Zhao Dezhu pointed at Zhuo Fan's cold face and laughed at his suicidal act elder. He shook his head in mockery. We're not picking on the weak this time. It's the weak who taunts us. Yeah, he must think that dying at a soul harmony expert's hand would be so much more honorable. Another elder shook his head, looking with contempt. There's plenty of idiots like him around. As if the more incredible the death, the better the glory. Ha ha ha. But that doesn't mean you should die at some underling's hand. After all, even experts sometimes can't help but squash a few bugs. Everyone nodded and snickered. The hundreds of ethereal stage experts were even excited. They were going to see their glorious elders attack. Who? The wind brought terrible power at Zhuo Fan, pushing him down and making him pant and shake despite that. He stood firm, his back straight. As he took almighty Scarlet Dragon King back into himself, Elder Yin Shui raised an eyebrow, writing it off as fear and laughing at Zhuo Fan for it. You took your soul back? You think it'll save you? I am a soul harmony expert. This fist will crush your body and pulverize your soul. You can't escape. Ha ha ha. You're wrong about that. I took it back not out of fear, but to reduce the defensive range. Zhuo Fan, smirked Elder Yin Shui, had to laugh harder at that. Defensive range? Ha ha ha. Do you really think you can block my punch? Even with a 9th grade spiritual armor, you'd still die. Elder Yin Shui put more speed into his strike, arriving at Zhuo Fan in an instant. The terrible power was so great it made Zhuo Fan's face split. Bleeding all over his soul was restless, as if afraid of this might. Of this punch, Zhao Dezhu was having the time of his life. In the Double Dragon Gathering, his name became nothing, and now it became nothing in front of the elders. But the freak Zhuo Fan would finally die. The other ethereal stage experts were shouting in excitement. The 7 other elders shook their heads. With how deep the gap is, this fight is boring. It was like a thug looming on a 3-year-old just when everyone thought this would be over. Zhuo Fan's fate changed. A bloody glow with traces of black came in contact with Elder Yin Shui. The elder's punch was just about to hit Zhuo Fan, but then it split in two, whistling right by Zhuo Fan's ears as traces of blood landed on his brow. Elder Yin Shui was dumbstruck. But then a chuckle grated in his ears. Ha! Did you really think I would lower the defensive range just to block your attack? Zhuo Fan showed a sinister smile, his eyes flashing coldly. I was only getting ready to hack you. Elder Yin Shui shook, at a loss, but then he quickly shivered. He looked down to look at himself. He was bisected in 2 halves, with blood dripping from his innards. Because he had attacked, the halves simply went past Zhuo Fan now. He looked at Zhuo Fan in the eye. He had no determination to try and take them down with him. He was actually ready to kill a soul harmony expert, though the elder didn't understand how it came to dying like this. Elder Yin Shui wanted to at least know what happened before dying, but time waited for no one. As he turned around, his eyes went blank, and he splattered to the ground, dying with a grievance. The shock was so great everyone was in denial of what they saw. The ethereal stage experts and the elders all gasped watching the bloody halves. That's a soul harmony expert. How can he die just like that? Clang! A sword having a bloody glow and black veins on it circled the air and flew in Zhuo Fan's hand with a cheerful hum, like it was excited of the kill it just took. The hungry hum echoed and made the rest shiver from fear. That sword. Elder Bai He and the 6 elder share a glance. This was supposed to be a simple task now that the 8 of them came to deal with some brats. They came just to make sure all went well, but not that they would actually intervene. But none could have fathomed that they would actually lose a soul harmony expert just like that at the hands of a weapon. The hearts of the other elders were tense, no longer looking down on the kid. Zhao Dezhu was scared to death and stumbled backward. No, that can't be. How did you kill a soul harmony stage elder? Humph, I told you. None shall take one step beyond me. Ignoring him, Zhuo Fan flicked the sword and smiled coldly. He was like a supreme monarch bearing down his mighty order. The elders did not care about him before, but they would not be so hasty this time around. That weird sword would sure promise them death otherwise. What the hell is that thing? Elder Bai He squinted as sweat trickled down. The others were the same, stepping back from that sword in an instant. The two sides were in a deadlock. The ethereal stage experts had a morale boost with the 8 elders about to attack even. But then one of them had to die and shake the elders' resolve. Making them useless, their morale hit rock bottom, looking at Zhuo Fan with dread. If their elders feared him, how couldn't they? Zhuo Fan grinned and nodded at the sword, 6th grade sacred weapon, Atlas Sword. He was lacking in using the sacred weapon's full power, but it was sharp enough to kill a soul harmony expert. Thanks to this trinket, he could now stall for longer and make sure Chu Qingchang got away Zhuo Fan's side. Yet he was showing a pleased smile. This might be the last time he could help Qingchang. Use your weapons. Elder Bai He shouted, then he charged for Zhuo Fan, while a broadsword appeared in his hands. 9th grade spiritual weapon, Heaven Slasher. Moon-cutting river. The other 6 elders lit up. Since the demon sword was amazing, then they'd use spiritual weapons. Even if they lacked, they could press on with their soul harmony stage power, and so they all took out their spiritual weapons and came at Zhuo Fan squinting. Zhuo Fan knew he could not let them circle him. So his right eye flashed golden once and was gone from their sight. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. Whoosh! Zhuo Fan's vanishing act had the spiritual weapon strike air. The next second he was behind Elder Bai He, slashing Elder Bai He's heart shook and he dodged that sharp edge. With a flick of his hand, the Heaven Slasher carried out his entire power as it hacked at Zhuo Fan. Bam! A loud sound echoed as the blade and sword collided. Zhuo Fan shook from the soul harmony stage power, seeping into his body. He spat blood and fell back, however. Elder Bai's Heaven Slasher fell apart, pieces crumbling from it. A 9th grade spiritual weapon was ruined. Just like that, this can't be. Elder Bai widened his eyes in shock. What kind of weapon is that? How can a Radiant Stage kid destroy a 9th grade spiritual weapon in the hands of a soul harmony expert? The other's eyelids quivered, thoroughly stumped. Chapter 777, Never Surrender. Chapter 777, Never Surrender. Proofreader, Papatonks. While spiritual weapons had grades, that didn't mean anyone could use them. Their power was also different. A 3rd grade spiritual weapon wielded by a soul harmony expert was much stronger than a Radiant Stage expert holding a 9th grade spiritual weapon, but that did not seem to be the case, since even with the cultivation gap, a soul harmony stage expert was using spiritual weapons against a Radiant Stage expert. If not for Zhuo Fan's sword being so outrageous, they would not have resorted to such a shameless act as using spiritual weapons to pick on the weak. Yet even so, their spiritual weapons were as useful as toothpicks. It only helped taking one blow. This had them shaken. Just what was that thing Zhuo Fan was holding for even 9th grade spiritual weapons to be solely lacking? They began to take this fight more seriously in terms of strength. Zhuo Fan was clearly weaker, as weak as a lamb in fact. But that sword turned the lamb into a wolf with a ravenous appetite. These almighty elders of the universal righteous sect were scared. Elder Bai glared with such fury at Zhao Dezhu. What the hell is wrong with you? How could you miss telling us he has such a godly weapon? Elder Bai, I didn't know. Zhao Dezhu felt wronged, then stared daggers at Zhuo Fan. Just how much is he hiding? Why didn't he take it out when he fought Yi Lin? How was he supposed to know this sword, no matter how incredible, had to be kept hidden? He could not just flaunt it and end up dead as a result, just like these elders. While clueless of being Western Land's guardian treasure, they all felt greed to possess such a mighty bauble if it was so awesome in Zhuo Fan's hand. Then what about in his soul harmony experts? They all started attacking Zhuo Fan. Their spiritual weapons fell down like rain. At the same time, they also unleashed techniques to cover all bases Zhuo Fan could defend against one attack, but not both. And when he died, they could finally steal that sword. Zhuo Fan squinted. He saw through them and grinned. His right eye flashed golden once more, divine eye of the void's first stage shift. Zhuo Fan vanished and reappeared before Elder Bai He, who didn't have a spiritual weapon. Bai He was stunned and dodged as he cursed. For crying out loud, stop coming at me. You already ruined my spiritual weapon, and now you come and finish the job? If you have the nerve, leave the sword and fight me like a man. Elder Bai He fled with Zhuo Fan on his tail. The surrounding ethereal stage experts were dumbstruck. A radiant stage cultivator was chasing a soul harmony stage 1. Talk about baffling. This was unheard of. Elder Bai He's heart collapsed in hatred, but that was it. A soul harmony stage's soul and body combination was tough, but was no different from paper before that sword. How humiliating, being chased around before such a crowd by a damn brat. Though it was much better than getting killed, so he ran with Zhuo Fan behind him. The only thing missing was a cry for help. Elder Bai He, here I come to help you. Another elder shouted and lifted his spear as he charged Zhuo Fan at the same time. He also combined his soul with his body, while punching at Zhuo Fan. This was using 2 different attacks. Zhuo Fan had no way of keeping the pursuit of his quarry. As for shifting again, Zhuo Fan frowned, as the other elders were now on guard at his every move. No matter how he tried to ambush them again, they were ready. He could only fight with a creepy glint in his eyes. Zhuo Fan flicked his sword and threw it at the spear, then his arm flashed red as he punched the incoming attack. The elder was overjoyed. Ha ha! No matter how strong you are, my fist is backed by my soul. You can't escape. Ha ha, I know that. Zhuo Fan grinned, and his eye flashed golden. So I'm smashing your spiritual weapon. The other was stunned to see that he and the Atlas sword switched places. Bam. Zhuo Fan's punch struck the spear, making him fly back and cough blood, while the elder's fist was now faced a demonic sword, sending terror through his bones. Whoosh! With a mournful cry, another soul harmony stage elder met his demise. His body fell in a pool of blood, and the sword came back to Zhuo Fan's hand. Panting, Zhuo Fan wiped his bloody mouth and showed a crazed grin. That's 2. SSS. The others were gasping in fright. The 6 elders looked at Zhuo Fan like he was a monster, their fists shaking in just a short time. 2 elders were gone. This kid's tricks are twisted. Everyone attack. Elder Bai He gnashed his teeth. The punk is using every gap in our attacks to pick us one by one. With his sword and those creepy skills, even we might end up dead by his blade. The others shook and nodded after a short moment. It looks like we'll have to lower ourselves. The kid is worthy of us doing this. Elder Bai He looked around, then set his eyes on Zhao Dezhu. Take 100 men and go after the girls. The rest of you attack the vile spawn together. Yes, sir, they all shouted, even Zhao Dezhu. Zhao Dezhu, I hope you'll be alive when I come back with those girls, haha. Zhao Dezhu then took his men to pass Zhuo Fan. Boom. However, an explosion came as a huge scarlet dragon once again appeared before them. Zhuo Fan spoke deadly. I told you, none shall. Bam! He did not finish as his body shook and coughed blood. He saw that a soul harmony stage elder appeared before the dragon and punched it. Almighty Scarlet Dragon King's hard scales crumbled to pieces as it howled, ha ha, the dragon soul is finally out. Elder Bai He gave a devious smile. You took your soul back to have an easier time with Elder In Shui and not expose your weakness. However, you want to stop them, so you have to take it out again, exposing it before a soul harmony expert. It seems to me Those girls are very important to you, more than your life. Zhuofan's eyes shook. Even with the blood flowing from his mouth and his woozy body, he still stood his ground elder by his side. There's no point. With another punch, your dragon soul will crumble. Your sword is amazing, but it can't stop everything. Ha ha ha. Yes, you have a choice now. Give up your life, or let us pass and get the girls. Zhao Dezhu laughed, though I hope you'll pick the latter. If you don't take your soul back, the next punch will kill you and won't be able to save those girls. But if you take it back, won't you see the girls again soon? Ha, well, what will you choose? Zhao Dezhu was having a kick out of Zhuofan's plight. Mocking him for it, Zhuofan had a vile grin, his eyes still firm. I told you, none shall pass me. Die then, Zhao Dezhu shouted. Then he turned to the elder before the dragon. Elder, if you would. The man showed a bloodthirsty glint and punched into the dragon's back. Just then, what shocked everyone was that when the punch landed, everything was quiet then. With a cry, the dragon turned pitch black, oozing black energy as it engulfed him. Chapter 778, Chopping Galore. Chapter 778, Chopping Galore. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? The soul changed. The elder who punched the black dragon gasped and could not get away from it. Zhao Dezhu cried out. Tit Zhuofan's dragon soul variant. Heaven-devouring, demonic dragon king. Correct. Zhuofan snickered, then spewed blood. Heaven-devouring, demonic dragon king can take on any power for itself. Even if a soul harmony expert punched, it would lose most of its power. You want to smash me? Humph, think again. Zhuofan's eyes flashed with bloodlust, and his right eye shone golden. As the demonic sword vanished again, it came back from the front of the elder. The elder was scared to death and panicked. But nothing he did could get his fist out of the heaven-devouring, demonic dragon king's black energy in the end. Another wail adorned the sky as the demonic blade robbed him of his life by cutting him in two. Blood fell down like rain as the creepy demonic sword returned to Zhuofan's hands. It shone a blood-red light that reflected in the other's eyes. Moreover, trapped in heaven-devouring demonic dragon king, you won't get out so easily. Zhuofan's laughter pierced their ears, making everyone shiver. The remaining 5 elders felt fear now, with sweat gathering on their brows. That was the third one. If they didn't see it, they wouldn't have believed it. A great soul harmony expert actually died at the hands of a kid not yet in the ethereal stage. And not just one, the blade was just too strange and savage. Not even a soul harmony expert with his soul and body united could handle it. But what else did the kid have beside the sword? Nothing else he used could threaten them. Even so, they understood fully that sword's power and were on high alert. Even as they all were cautious to dodge its edge, they still fell one by one. This was no longer an issue with the sword, but with Zhuofan. He was a threat to everyone. The tragic deaths of 3 of them had the elders admit that they were up against a dangerous enemy. It wasn't just the sword, but the wielder as well. Elder by he squinted and shouted, "Everyone attack! No matter what it costs, we have to take the vile spawn's head. We'll go after the girls after we have his corpse. Elder by his sword is too strong. Our losses will be heavy." One elder spoke. Shaken elder by shook his head and gnashed his teeth. "We don't have a choice. The kid is too weird. If we try anything else, we won't win. The best method is to drown him with numbers, to use superior strength on the weak. When he's so busy fending us all off, he'll die for sure." But, no buts. Elder by he cut him off with a flick of his hand. "We'll only leave 100 ethereal stage experts anyway. The universal righteous sect can take it." Elder by he led the charge, but did not dare to face Zhuofan head-on, going for the dragon soul instead. Those with spiritual weapons attack his body. The rest go for his soul. "Yes, sir." Seeing an elder beginning the assault, the rest shouted and took out their souls. The remaining 4 elders saw this and nodded. They gripped their spiritual weapons and went for Zhuofan as they unleashed their mighty power. It was like 2 mountains came crumbling down. One went for Zhuofan and the other for the dragon soul. No matter which struck home, he would die either way. However, he could not dodge because behind him were the girls. "Ha ha ha! Zhuofan, you want to use yourself to shield the girls?" Then I'll walk all over your corpse and grab them. Zhao Daju followed by he closely as he shouted, "See how in 15 minutes you'll end up dead and ruined. And with your fall, those girls will be next. All you've done would be for nothing. You can't save anyone." Zhua Fan's brow shook. He looked rather frail, but his eyes held a vague glint. "Oh, really? Thanks for the reminder. It seems I'll survive a while longer at least." Showing a devilish smile, Zhua Fan made a Sign Soul variant, Vaulting Dragon King. Whoosh! The demonic dragon withdrew its black energy, and azure flames began to cover its body. Elder by he jerked, but before he could react, the azure dragon opened its maw to unleash a torrent of azure flame at the hundreds of souls around Ak. Wails and cries were heard all around as the wave of souls had not even reached the dragon soul, and they were burning in an azure inferno. Their bodies jerked and twitched from pain. The unlucky ones, unable to withdraw, had been burned down to nothing in a blink. Dozens of ethereal stage experts were gone from this world. Everyone gasped from shock. Even Zhao Dezhu didn't think that the azure dragon that had been passive in Yilin's fight would unleash such power. It killed so many and heavily wounded 100. How could any of them know the chaos azure flame might be a gentle flame, weaker in a fight than a fierce flame, like decimating golden flame? It still came from a sacred beast. It was only weaker in relation to that golden dragon. If you thought azure dragon was weak because of that, then what happened now was only natural. Elder by he glared at Zhao Dezhu, as if blaming him. Why couldn't you report his strength sooner? How was Zhao Dezhu to know? He was only watching the fight, not participating in it. He only knew that almighty Scarlet Dragon King was tough while the others were always on defense. Zhao Dezhu felt like crying now. He knew just how bitter Yilin and Zhua Fan's fight was. Their fight was beyond their stage, something the audience could not comprehend. The brat still had some more damn skills? Tell me everything you know already. Elder by he gnashed his teeth and barked. Zhao Dezhu shook his head, his eyes hazy. There shouldn't be any great moves left. Although he has another variant, a purple dragon, but that is used for ambushes, and it's weak. Rumble. As if on cue, purple lightning flashed in waves and crossed the inferno to strike at the hundreds of souls. Dozens of more souls fell right then, and dozens more withdrew with heavy wounds. Is this what you mean by a weak variant? Elder by his face twitched and wanted to slap the kid into the hereafter. Zhao Dezhu lowered his head, puzzled on the inside. Why did Zhua Fan look so weak when fighting Yilin in the Double Dragon Gathering? How is he so strong now? Never mind. I won't ask you who knows nothing. I'll break his dragon's soul myself. Elder by he flicked his sleeve, enraged, shooting for the dragon soul with the power of Soul Harmony stage. He easily broke the purple lightning and the azure inferno. Elder by he, the purple dragon variant, has the weakest defense. I won't believe a word you say. Now get lost. Zhao Daju's reminder got a reprimand from Elder by he, making him jerk back and stay silent to stew in anger. I was only trying to help. It's your fault if you die. At the same time, in front of Zhua Fan, for elders wielding spiritual weapons came to take his life with their superior cultivation, Zhua Fan clashed with them as he wielded the demonic sword. Elder by he arrived at the purple dragon and raised his fists but did not strike. Looking instead at Zhua Fan, he saw Zhua Fan's skill back then. That shift was insanely powerful now that he faced 4 experts at full power. If he went head-on, he would die even if the demonic sword ruined the spiritual weapons, as the power would transfer to him and kill him on the spot. But if he shifted away, that would be the best moment for Bai He to kill his soul, and in this he was afraid that he would get stuck like the other elder and end up dead. To make sure this didn't happen, Bai He stayed his hand, not wanting to give his enemy an opening to exploit. Even if Zhua Fan got to him, he could instantly flee and draw him out while the 4 elders would focus on the dragon's soul. So no matter the choice, Zhua Fan would die for sure. Details made a plan come together, and Elder, by he was a sharp man. That was why he chose to stay his hand, to see what Zhua Fan would choose. Chapter 779, Chaotic Fight. Chapter 779, Chaotic Fight. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bam! Zhua Fan's sword clashed with the 4 elders' spiritual weapons, turning them to pieces. Zhua Fan had to cough blood from that encounter, their power wreaking havoc in his body. Elderby laughed. This kid doesn't have the strength to move like that again? Of the three choices, he picked the quickest to die. Did he give up resisting? This is much better. His insides must be mush right about now and can't use the sword again. Next, I'll just smash his dragon soul to pieces. Overjoyed, Elderby's eyes shone and punched, sending all his power forward. The purple lightning struck the attack, but it did nothing to stop it. Boom. With a mighty sound, Elderby grinned at the shaking dragon. This time you're going to fall. Heaven Dragon Soul. Whoosh. Black energy covered the dragon, switching from purple lighting as it roared. Ha ha ha. I see it now. At the critical moment, you'll change to a demonic dragon to disperse my power? Elderby mocked. So what? Even what remains will be enough to wound you. The only thing great about this dragon soul is that it can change forms and only drag out its death. But I will still kill you either way. Elderby was about to strike again, but he found that he couldn't. His fist was stuck just like that elder's sneering. Elderby's body shook and unleashed more power to scatter the black energy as he pulled out his fist. Humph, Zhua Fan, your body is already useless and can't use that instant movement. Your dragon can only stall for a couple of moments. Fighting your body might be a threat to us, but your soul alone can't be saved. Die. Elderby. However, a cry came from the four elders. Looking over, he asked, what? Oh, our spiritual weapons aren't ruined. An elder held his spiritual weapon in shock. As he shouted by, he jerked and looked careful to see that they were holding their weapons while Zhua Fan was coughing blood in front of them. He was wobbling, yet the demonic sword had the same strong vibe. What just happened? If the four elders' spiritual weapons were not ruined, that meant they did not clash with the demonic sword. But why would Zhua Fan get himself killed by doing this? To leave his soul alone? Elderby was perplexed. However, a sudden wave of bloodlust came from behind. Startled, he panicked and tried to dodge, only to find that his hand was still stuck in the black dragon, though it would only last for a couple of moments, more than enough to kill him. As blood spurted, Elderby's body was severed. IV been had. Elderby's lips trembled, forcing himself to turn around, to see Zhua Fan's cold eyes and bloody mouth. What happened? Cough. Zhua Fan kept coughing, though his face was flat. No matter how cautious you are, the moment you win, you'll feel invincible. I only gave you that moment, that's all. Elderby looked at Zhua Fan hovering in the air, then at the Zhua Fan behind him with hazy eyes. Why are there two of him? Ah, ignorance is crime. You have no way of knowing all I'm capable of. Grinning, Zhua Fan's right eye flashed in 3 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void's 3rd stage, Mirage World. Whoosh! The one holding the demonic sword kept spewing blood, yet vanished the next second, leaving only the Zhua Fan behind by he, grinning at the 4 remaining elders' illusion. Everyone understood that even if Zhua Fan popped behind Elderby, he still couldn't kill him, even with the dragon's soul holding him. He had to lure him first, but with the elders seeing his trick once, was he going to fall for it as well? So Zhua Fan set up an illusion, letting Bai think he faced them head-on and letting him attack the soul in peace. The illusion was easy to break, as the 4 elders found their spiritual weapons didn't crumble when meeting with the demonic sword, but Elderby, who was not around, only saw that the plan worked and couldn't help but strike as well. At that moment, Zhua Fan capitalized on the elder's mistake. Elderby looked at the sky as his eyes became empty and he died. The 2 halves of his body fell to the ground, his eyes forever open in regret. Who'd have thought a great soul harmony expert would die with such regret? That's 4. Shaken to the core, the 4 remaining elders looked at Zhua Fan panting heavily and spewing blood, yet all they felt was fear as they backed away. He wasn't even in the ethereal stage, also wounded and surrounded, yet still killed a soul harmony expert. The first time was a miracle, the second was a mishap, but the third one had them all attacking to prevent any more from dying. Then the 4th kill came and proved he had the power. Still the 4 elders felt their hearts sinking looking into those savage eyes. Who the hell is this guy? In the end, they were hardened cultivators of many years, soon recovering their calm. After a bit of shock, they were soul harmony experts. How could a mere radiant stage prick kill four of them? Attack. All of you attack. No plans. Just kill the damn kid no matter the cost. Finally, as four of them died, the elders went mad as they shouted, going for Zhuo Fan head-on. The remaining ethereal stage experts followed them. Zhao Dezhu was even in front, his eyes bloodshot. He had asked for this fight from the sect. Now four elders lay dead, and if he didn't get his head, he could never get back to the sect. Zhuo Fan looked at the flood of people charging over and tightened his grip on the demonic sword. He took a deep breath and gnashed his teeth as he charged as well with his weary body. This had never happened before in the history of time. Hundreds of experts ganged up on a lower cultivator. This was a bloody and thunderous chaotic battle. If the Universal Righteous Sect had gone all out from the start, their losses wouldn't have been so great. But in this chaos, the death toll only rose. The ethereal stage experts unleashed their souls on Zhuo Fan without regard for their safety. Zhuo Fan's azure dragon spewed fire that killed many. The purple dragon sent purple lightning that singed even more, but the tide could not be stopped. Slamming into the dragon, Zhuo Fan spat blood again, his eyes going dark and about to fall unconscious. But he had someone to protect. He bit his tongue to wake up the purple dragon, shifted into the demonic dragon, to absorb as much as possible of those soul attacks. Then it switched to almighty Scarlet Dragon King, and with a lash of the whip, destroying dozens of more souls. This was how the dragon's soul kept changing form to deal with the storm of souls coming to rob his life. He instead robbed their lives, bodies falling from the sky after giving out one last mournful cry under the constant attacks. The dragon soul was battered as well. Howling constantly, Zhuo Fan endured the pain his soul was suffering and charged head-on with the demonic sword in hand, his eyes bloodshot. Everywhere he went, someone would fall to pieces. Another pile of bodies started hitting the ground. The four elders held their weapons and charged at his body. Zhuo Fan wielded the demonic sword and clashed with them 100 times, yet no winner was revealed. The demonic sword forced the elders to keep retreating after each attack. Its savage blade reaped dozens of ethereal stage experts with every swing. No one could approach their battle, as each fought to gain the advantage. This had long stopped being a trap, becoming a bitter war, 500 people against one man. It was utter chaos. Chapter 780, You're Not Worthy. Chapter 780, You're Not Worthy. Proofreader, Papatonks. Where am I? The heavy night descended as a bloody man crawled out of the grass. The stench of blood around him made him cough, sometimes even vomit. The clear moon sent her soft rays, shining its light on this weary man's face-palming. Zhao Dezhu pondered before getting up. He was ordered by his sect to kill the demon Zhuo Fan, but he was just too strong, unable to get him even with superior numbers. That last tail, swiped from the almighty Scarlet Dragon King, killed so many. And since he was at the front, even if he survived it, only now did he wake up from the heavy blow. He was in the dark about whether that Zhuo Fan was finished or not. Zhao Dezhu looked at the moon above and sighed. It's already dark. He has to have fallen by now. But how many died? As if on cue, the world seemed to answer him as the moon shone on the limbs and bodies laying in bloody mud. Where he was right now was right in the middle of a river of blood. That many? Zhao Dezhu looked around in shock at the Hell's Cape and gruesome display, at the limbs without a body to match. Zhao Dezhu shook and muttered, What now? What now? I can't take the blame for these losses. Boom. However, his musing to weasel out were put on hold at the sound of that explosion and the incoming gale whipping his face startled. Zhao Dezhu rushed forward, flying towards the fire in the sky. The Universal Righteous Sect still had 100 ethereal stage experts gasping for breath and staring at their enemy with fear and shock. But what was more pronounced were the feelings of hatred and terror. In front of them stood 3 elders in dirty and ripped clothes, the spiritual weapons in their hands shaking. In no way. He's still alive? Zhao Dezhu's heart sank and flew over, squeezing between the men and getting in front. But the scene he saw left him shell-shocked. Before them was the same dragon. Although wretched and with broken scales, about to breathe its last, it still swiped its tail as it fought the crowd with utter determination. Just like Zhuofan, it was going to fight to the last breath. In front of it stood a man covered in blood, holding a demonic sword as blood dripped from his face. His eyes were welcoming death. His face was flat. The tens of ghastly wounds on his body kept spewing out blood. Some of the wounds even had dried blood on them. Despite all the pain and damage, he still stood. He stared at the men before him with a dead and firm look. An elder shifted his leg and shot forth. The sword pierced forward, but then he jerked back even faster, frowning. The elder looked at the others with fury. Is Zhuofan even human? We've ruined his body to this degree. His innards are crushed, but yet he still killed an elder. He had killed 400 ethereal stage experts and took down 5 soul harmony elders as well. He had paid for it, getting so many wounds on his body and soul. I just can't believe he's alive even after all that. Will he die only when his soul is ripped apart? This kid is too tough. Is he really in the radiant stage? Another elder panted, his whole body covered in blood as he stared at Zhuofan with bitterness. If we want to destroy his soul, I fear we'll all be annihilated. He might be on his last breath, but I know that his body is as tough as a zombie's. If we want to kill him, we'll have to pay the price. And to think this used to be an easy mission. Now look what came of it. The other two nodded, yeah. What? As the trio discussed, a shout had them all startled. They saw Zhao Daiju in shock as he wobbled over. Elders, what are you saying? We've lost so many? 5 soul harmony stage elders and 400 ethereal stage experts? The elders sighed and nodded, shaking all over. Zhao Daiju turned around and looked outraged at Zhuofan, panting in the distance. Zhuofan, why aren't you dead yet? I personally asked for this mission from the sect. With so many dead, how am I to explain it? Zhao Daju's raving was unheard by Zhuofan. He just stood there with a cold gaze. 500 ethereal stage experts and 8 elders were sent, yet we can't even catch a radiant stage cultivator after a whole day of fighting. We even lost so many men and 5 elders. This outcome had finally sinked into Zhao Daju as he raved. Just what the hell are you? Why can't you just die? You just kept fighting the universal righteous sects, 500 experts, to not overtake you for one day. You ruined my life. You ruined my future. Zhuofan just stood there in silence. The others reminded Zhao Daju, Senior brother, we've been fighting for 3 days, not one. What? Zhao Daju's, but hit the ground from the shock. I've been out for 3 days? He's been holding on for 3 days? The 3 elders flushed and lowered their heads in shame. So many men were fighting, yet they could not take one radiant stage cultivator down, even after 3 days. Talk about a humiliation. The ever-silent Zhuofan finally let out a stiff voice. Ha ha ha. I see. It's been 3 days. That means you won't catch them. With those words, Zhuofan collapsed, and the dragon's soul closed its eyes and vanished. Only the sword entered Zhuofan and was gone startled. The men looked around stumped. Why did he suddenly collapse when no one did anything when he lasted 3 days of fighting? Zhao Daju was also startled. An elder came to Zhuofan and sighed. I see. He's already dead. He's dead. Zhao Daju cried, but he was still. The elder shook his head. He was holding on that last breath to stop us from chasing the girls. With this last effort, he held us back for 3 days. In fact, his body must have died long ago, only his soul remaining. How strange. He is covered in deep wounds, each deadly, yet he could still stand. He must have died on his feet. Taking a deep breath, another elder stared at Zhuofan. When any other's body is destroyed, their soul would scatter. But he could drag out the last breath with his body up till now. Such willpower, even for a demonic cultivator, it's that of a hero. How freakish, he's an unheard-of monster. The third elder's eyes flashed, filled with bloodlust. Don't forget, he controlled his heavily wounded soul and this broken corpse to fight us for 3 days. No matter how heroic, how can one breath last him for so long? Who can control both the body and the soul? This thing would be too dangerous to be left alive. The three elders nodded and shouted, "Kill!" They all struck at once, holding nothing back, even against his corpse. They were soul harmony experts, and their blows would sure wipe off every trace of his existence. However, a flash of golden slammed the trio away. When they stopped, they saw a youth in a golden cloak. "Yilin, what are you doing here?" Zhao Daju cried out, ignoring him. Yilin only looked at Zhuo Fan. Placing him on his shoulder, the elders shouted, "Put him down right now. You want to kill him?" Yilin sneered as he looked at them with despise. "You're not worthy." Chapter 781, Inferno. Chapter 781, Inferno. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shaking all over, the three elders' expressions turned heavy. They might have not gone to Double Dragon Gathering, but they heard of him from Zhao Daju's report. Yilin, Double Dragon Gathering's runner-up. He fought with Zhuo Fan on the same level. Even being able to push Zhuo Fan back for a while, such an expert had to be on the same level as Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan alone was bad enough, reducing them to this state, but adding Yilin into the mix, and their hearts sank. However, they were not about to let Zhuo Fan, who was barely even alive, go. They had paid too much already, and if they did not achieve some manner of success, they would be too ashamed to return to the sect. So, one elder flicked his spiritual weapon and stepped forward as he urged, "Ultimate Clarity Sect is a righteous sect like the Universal Righteous Sect. Yilin, we have heard of your great name, the future of our righteous path. Why then would you have come to save a demonic cultivator whelp? If we don't get rid of him now, he will be a calamity upon the righteous sects, you included. I'm sure you don't want to be beneath another, to let Western Land's strongest man title fall in the hands of a vile demonic cultivator." Today, the Universal Righteous Sect stepped in to eliminate him, to purge demons and protect Western Land's righteous path. Just turn a blind eye and leave him here. You won't be reprimanded for it, being called cynical or jealous. You won't get your hands dirty, and you'd get famous as well. Two birds with one stone. Shut your trap. The elder appealed to his devotion and on his practical side, thinking Yilin would surely agree since he'd be the biggest winner in this. However, the elder was rudely cut off. He stared at Yilin's dark look as the young man raged. "A loss is a loss. A win is a win. I will never lower myself to these filthy schemes and stain my name as a sacred beast inheritor." Sacred beast inheritor? The others looked at each other puzzled. What's that? Humph. Nothing but a bunch of despicable dirtbags from the mortal domain. It's like talking to retards. Yilin mocked them, then looked at Zhuo Fan on his shoulder and sighed. This man might be the only one like me in the world. Yilin's hand shone golden and a fist-sized ball appeared, releasing golden flames that burned hot. The others jerked back in fear. They did not know what that was, but it released a true power of destruction. They could feel it in their bones that it was terrifying. Not even the three elders could take it on. They gulped and sweated as they looked at it. "Yilin, what is that?" Zhao Daju shook backward, finally working up his courage. Yilin snickered. "The dead don't need to know. And who the hell would be on the same side with you? In this world, only one man is worthy. The rest are worthless." Yilin flicked his shoulder, and the golden ball shot into the crowd. Their instinct screamed at them to flee, not that they could boom. In a huge explosion that scattered the clouds, even the earth cracked. The golden ball exploded in everyone's faces, unleashing its scorching flames everywhere. In a blink, an inferno was born. The fire burned high and warped the air as it did. On the verge of breaking space itself, Zhao Daju and his 100 experts, the three elders included, had no time to even cry out. Obliterated down to the last vestige, the inferno spread for 1,000 miles, burning everything and turning it into hell. Nothing living remained. Yilin looked coldly and then faded away from this place. Meanwhile, whoosh! In the dead of night, three girls fled, with the leading one showing signs of crying. "Sister Qingcheng, it's been 3 days. They shouldn't chase us now. Let's rest." Danner saw Chu Qingcheng's weary look and proposed Shui. Ruohuan nodded. "Qingcheng, in your sadness you gave all you had and are hurt. It's best we rest for now." Maybe Zhuo Fan would even catch up. "No, Zhuo Fan is using his life so we can escape. How can we fail him? Closing her eyes, Chu Ching Chung gnashed her teeth, her eyes tearing up again. We'll only stop when we get to Double Dragon Manor. Chu Ching Ching's voice was firm. The girls shook their heads and sighed. Boom. A huge explosion came from far away, followed by towering flames. Such an intense heat spread everywhere as it scorched everything. The girls were flying, yet could still feel the heat wave reaching them, pushing them into the ground. When they finally got up, they stood dumbstruck. The inferno reached the heavens, like a gateway to hell. Nothing alive was spared. Even though they were thousands of miles away, they could still feel its scorching heat lick their faces. Gods, what happened there? Where did this fire come from? Danner gasped and then cried out, "Isn't that where Brother Zhu is?" "Danner!" Shui Ruo shouted and glared at her, startled. Danner noticed Chu Ching Chung looked at the fire with a stunned look, her eyes shedding tears. Zhuo Fan. With a wail, Chu Ching Chung flew onward, but Shui Ruo stopped her. "Ching Chung, are you crazy? With such a raging fire, you'll die if you go." "I don't care." Zhuo Fan. Chu Ching Chung lost her calm, giving a mournful cry, and struggling to go. Shuohua steeled her heart and struck her neck, rendering her unconscious. Looking at Danner, the two sighed at the crying Chu Ching Chung. They had never seen the always dignified girl be so frantic. She really cared for Zhuo Fan. Hard in pain, Danner pitied Chu Ching Chung. Then she asked, "Senior Sister Roa, what do we do now?" "What else can we do?" "Get Ching Chung to Double Dragon Manor. Only there will we be safe." "And Brother Zhuo?" Danner asked, looking back at the blaze. Shui Ruohua sighed. "This inferno is not something we can handle. I hope he's all right." "But—" Shui Ruohua shook her head, and her eyes were filled with sorrow. Danner lowered her head, her eyes moist. She knew that under such devastating destruction, Zhuo Fan had no chance at all. The two took Chu Ching Chung with a heavy heart and resumed their journey to Double Dragon Manor in Windgate City. Luo Clan. Zhuo Fan. Shuang was sleeping when she suddenly jolted awake and shouting. Her eyes were shining like the clear, starry sky, her face a mask of fear. Creak. The door opened and Luo Yunhai with Luo Yunchang entered. Luo Yunchang sat next to her and asked, "Shuang, what happened? Why did you shout with all your strength? You have everyone scared. What exactly is going on?" "Sister Yunchang, Zhuo Fan is dead." Shuang's lips quivered as tears fell. Luo Yunhai shook in disbelief. "Shuang, what are you saying?" "He is married to Edifice Lord Chu and a sect leader. You should be happy right now, not?" Luo Yunchang's eyes teared up, her heart frantic. "I don't know." Shuang shook her head. "I just really saw how Zhuo Fan fell in a pool of blood, then the golden flames." Clan head, Sister Shuang is the holy maiden of the empire, peering into the workings of the world. Steward Zhuo might be outside such machinations, but this premonition might not be unfounded. Lung Wuchang analyzed. "It seems it has gone as I feared, and so quick at that." Luo Yunhai flicked his hand and shouted, "Guard, send a spy to the demon scheming sect to feel them out. Report back at once." "Yes, sir." A shout came from beyond the door. Chapter 782, Run Xiaoyan. Chapter 782, Run Xiaoyan. Proofreader, Papatonks. Knock. In a dusky room, with few lights arranged, the face of High Venerable was reflected as he sat cross-legged. A heavy voice came from outside, breaking his peace. "Who is it?" "Master, it's I. I came to pay my respects." A familiar voice spoke with respect. Elder Yuan spoke. "Well, you haven't done it for centuries, so what made you pick the habit again?" "Ha ha, it's not so strange, Master." Xiao Yue spoke. "I have been a sect leader all this time, keeping with the sect's norms, and could not pay my master any respects. Now that I have stepped down and I'm free, I of course have to make up for all those years." Elder Yuan felt doubt inside, but softened in the end. Wanted to go back to those close times with his disciple. He lifted the seal on the door. "Enter." The heavy stone door was pushed open, and Xiao Yue stepped in with a smile. He kneeled and kowtowed 3 times. "Master, I came to pay my respects." Like a good child, Xiaoyu put on a genial face, nodding. Elder Yuan's eyes held a hint of sneer. "Wu, you only came here for your own reason, not to pay me respects." "Master, I would never." "Humph, a master knows his student. You were never so honest." Elder Yuan sighed and waved. "Say your piece." Xiaoyu looked Elder Yuan in the eye as he chuckled. "The older, the wiser, as they say. I can't hide anything from Master." "Ha ha ha. Master, I have reflected deeply on your guidance a month ago and asked that Master gives me another chance." "You still want to be a sect leader?" Elder Yuan eyed him. Xiao nodded with a smile. "Yes, a nation can't be without a king, and the same applies to a sect. Zhuofan has gone to Double Dragon Manor just as he became sect leader, leaving the seat empty. If it was just a couple of days or so, it wouldn't matter, but he will be gone for decades. Not handling the matters a sect leader does will lead to the sect becoming a mess. Don't worry, there's also me. Moreover, there are venerables helping. Master, you're the High Venerable. Leading the sect's matters in the name of the sect leader will lead to bad rumors. If it drags out, some might say that High Venerable wants to break the sect's ancient rules, to take matters into your own hand and the seat. Who would spread such gossip?" Elder Yuan looked squarely at Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu's head jerked back, lowering it as he bowed. "I could never try to surmise what my master thinks, but others will surely prattle and ruin Master's name. Especially those venerables, who only scheme and fight each other. They may be agreeing with everything you say now, but when their power grow, they would take matters into their own hands. As a venerable, since you can handle the sect's affairs, why can't they? That's why there are ancient rules. Deposing and even fraternization is possible, but only a sect leader can lead, or it will affect people's hearts and invite disaster. Who would scheme to exceed sect leader's authority?" Elder Yuan stood up and flicked his sleeve as he shouted, "I am an open man and only handle the matters of the sect in Zhuofan's stead for the next years. When he returns, he will be taking up his duty as sect leader." Face twitching, Xiaoyu's expression darkened. "Master, you're too heartless. You'd rather wait on him than let me lead for these decades, rather than give me a chance? I promise that in these years, I will see to the public opinion. Once he's back, no one will follow him. Let all know that there's only one sect leader, Xiaoyu. Wu, I see now you not once reflected on what I told you." With a saddened look, Elder Yuan shook his head. "Public opinion is merely a method, while what matters is wisdom. That is what makes people follow you. Without it, you might catch their hearts in short term, but they would soon scatter later. When you understand the meaning of Tao, when you find your path, we'll then speak of the sect leader position." Taking a deep breath, Xiaoyu's eyes went cold. Clutching his fists, "Tao? Humph! Master, you're only being vague. Who could understand such unreal things? You're only using it as an excuse to stop me from being a sect leader." Slowly turning away, Elder Yuan no longer looked at him. He sighed in disappointment. "Master, you're casting me out. I'm trying so hard here, but you—" Xiaoyu tensed, and his clenched fists crackled. Then a hint of bloodthirst appeared in his eyes. He made a claw with his hand and struck Elder Yuan's waist. High profound ranked martial art, Flood Dragon Claw. Whoosh! Xiaoyu's dark claw arrived right before Elder Yuan. Elder Yuan was outraged. He never thought his disciple would have the nerve to strike his master down. Elder Yuan unleashed his power as well. His heavy power pressed on Xiaoyu, stopping the claw in its track. Elder Yuan flicked his hand and grabbed his arm to throw him out. Bam! Xiaoyu was slammed into the wall like a rag doll before slumping to the ground. He coughed a lot of blood. "Xiaoyu, you're insane. I'm your master, yet you dare raise your hand?" Clenching his fists, Elder Yuan's eyes were bloodshot from anger. Xiaoyu gave a crazed, mocking smile. "Master, you threw me off the sect leader seat, and you dare call yourself master?" Elder Yuan's face shook, his heart overcome with grief. A green glow enveloped the dusky room. Xiaoyu mocked. "Impermanence 5, you finally came out. You make for poor bodyguards. What if I had hurt High Venerable?" No one in the sect can surpass High Venerable in power. You can't hurt him. Our duty is only to prevent an ambush and disturb High Venerable's cultivation. Elder Shi's voice came from Green Glow. As your master and disciple, we should not interfere, but sect leader Xie, you need to understand, High Venerable had never mistreated you. He had handled the matter of the sect leader position perfectly. Or did you really think you'd be alive if Shui Fan started a fight? Xiao Yue wiped the blood from his mouth and nodded. You're right, and I know that. That's why I gave him one last chance to change his mind. Help me take my seat back while Shui Fan was not here. However, he cast me out. It's not my fault here. Moreover, since I did not kill him with my strike, you can take it as repaying his favor for saving me. You simply lost it. Xiao Wuyue, you really think you could have harmed me? Elder Yuan shouted. Impermanence 5, arrest Xiao Wuyue. Yes, sir. The elders nodded and made a sign. The green glow flashed and sent green lights for Xiao Wuyue, and around him with an evil glint in his eyes. Xiao Wuyue mocked, not minding at all. Ha ha ha, lost it? Yuan Xingong, don't think you're the strongest in demon scheming sect, that you're untouchable. I could have really killed you back then, but I didn't to break the ties between us. We don't owe each other anything now. Watch. Xiao Wuyue shook his arm, and the storage ring on his hand flashed. A mighty power exploded from within and slammed into the vicissitude domain boom. The green glow shook, and the Impermanence 5 had no cough blood. Who did this? Elder Shi roared a cackle, entered their ears. Demon scheming sects Impermanence 5 sure are something. You still breathe, and only your domain is broken despite suffering the might of a soul harmony stage. Whoosh! A gray figure of a middle-aged man appeared tall and imposing before Elder Yuan. Elder Yuan gasped in shock. Heaven Trailing sect leader. Ren Xiaoyan. Ah, it is indeed I. Ren Xiaoyan turned to Xie Wuyue's ring. It was a smart move to use the ring for an ambush. How did you came up with it? Sect leader Xie. Xie Wuyue bowed slightly. I only learned it from a certain shameless traitor. I didn't think it would work to bring you so easily before High Venerable. High Venerable, now do you believe me? Xiao Yue turned to Elder Yuan with a smile. If it wasn't me who struck you before, but sect leader in from the ring, you would have died instead of preaching to me. Elder Yuan's beard shook as he gnashed his teeth. That's why I said I went easy on you for being your disciple. Huh? Xiao Wuyue snickered. Chapter 783. Shocking Changes in the Sect. Chapter 783. Shocking Changes in the Sect. Proofreader, Papatonks. What? High Venerable squinted at Ren Xiaoyan. As the sect leader of Heaven Trailing Sect, the head of the Empire's 3 guardian sects, how could you side with this stubborn disciple and enter my sect to do this despicable thing? Ren Xiaoyan waved his hand in disdain. Oh no, no, no. High Venerable, you misunderstand. That stubborn disciple is a great sect leader. I only accepted sect leader's invitation to help him settle the chaos. What chaos? Elder Yuan soon realized as he watched the two's devious grins. I see. I was wondering how the Heaven Trailing Sect would dare meddle with the demon scheming sect unafraid of Double Dragon Manor. Heaven Trailing Sect, you two already have your excuse ready, using settling the chaos to eliminate the opposition and put him on his seat. Grinning, Ren Xiaoyan nodded. High Venerable sure is wise, figuring out so fast. But you shouldn't say it. After all, we're righteous cultivators, and labeling us like this would hurt our name. Humph. Yeah. Heaven Trailing Sect is mighty righteous. Elder Yuan squinted and gnashed his teeth, turning to Xiaowu. You consorted with another sect to shame your ancestors and master. Do you really think you have any right to be a sect leader? Consorting? Didn't Shui Fan do the same by bringing outsiders to steal my power? Why did you still take his side and spit on me? Shui Fan brought his own men and did not take the sect. But you had Heaven Trailing Sect come here. Just what did you have to pay for this? Elder Yuan roared. Xiao Wuyue clenched his fists, but did not speak. Ren Xiaoyan smiled. I'll answer that. To help sect leader Xie regain his seat, my Heaven Trailing Sect would offer its support for the low price of 5,000 sacred stones. The mystical heavens sect didn't want anything, happy with just getting revenge by killing all that ruined his sect. What? Elder Yuan shook, looking at Xiao Yue in disbelief. You actually gave half of the rewards of Double Dragon Gathering to an outsider and even brought our enemy to kill us. As they talked, there were shouts and battle cries coming from outside. Elder Yuan was furious. He knew the sect had a traitor working with the outsiders to lead to the ruin of the sect. It might never recover from this. Xiao Yue fell silent, but then he spoke coldly. If the sect isn't mine, what use do I have for it? Why would I let anyone who won't obey me live? Why, you little? Pointing a shaking finger at Xiao Yue, Elder Yuan went red from anger as he barked. You're just like Tianyu's emperor. Xiao Yue, you were never worthy to be a sect leader. You're a traitor to the demon-scheming sect, and I will remove you in the name of our ancestors. Elder Yuan charged at Xiao Yue. The power he released pushing Xiao Yue back. He never thought that as a peak ethereal stage expert, he would be unable to resist High Venerable's pressure, but then Rin Xiaonan laughed and blocked his palm. Ha ha! High Venerable, aren't you looking down on me by killing someone with me here? You do know we're here to help sect leader Xie settle the chaos. If the sect leader died, how could our excuse stand? You'd go and get Double Dragon Manor to fight us. Ha ha, that just won't do. Rin Xiaoyan, screw off, or today is your funeral. Elder Yuan roared. Rin Xiaoyan smiled. Yuan Xinggong, you must be so full of yourself. As far as I know, you're nothing but a peak ethereal stage expert, while I'm in the second layer of soul harmony stage. You won't kill me even if you want to. The two's attacks clashed. Bam. A fierce sound echoed, and Elder Yuan was pushed back 5 steps, while Rin Xiaoyan 10 steps. How is this possible? Rin Xiaoyan looked at him in disbelief while crying out. You're in the soul harmony stage. What? Xiao Yue was shocked and perplexed. No way. That's impossible. Master told me his constitution is lacking and won't go beyond the ethereal stage in his life. How can he be in the soul harmony stage? With a smile of disdain, earth and dragon scales appeared on Elder Yuan's hands. It was my blessing to meet Zhuo Fan, giving me a 10th grade pill, heaven-reaching pill, to change my constitution and break through. My soul is also that of an earth dragon. Once uniting it with my body, I'll be as strong as the earth. I might be in the first layer, but to deal with a third layer isn't a problem. That goes double for the second layer. Curses! How could this happen? I underestimated you. Demon scheming sex, High Venerable. Rin Xiaoyan turned serious and unleashed all his power, no longer looking down on him. Xiao Yue could hardly believe it as he asked. Is that why you sided with Zhuo Fan, because he helped you? Humph, fool, I've always been impartial. You know that very well. Elder Yuan mocked him. You only asked to come up with an excuse for Zhuo Fan taking the seat as a result of siding with him, making you feel that being the sect leader is justly. But I already told you, Xiao Yue, you'll never amount to what Zhuo Fan is. He replaced you and brought back Dao. For trying to take back the sect leader position in betrayal, you had incurred heaven's wrath. Xiao Yue's eyes were bloodshot from anger as he bellowed. Enough! Why do you keep trusting an outsider, but not your own disciple? You must die for this. Humph, we'll just see who goes first. Elder Yuan shouted and shot for Xiao Yue, but Rin Xiaoyan blocked him. Bang. Powerful shockwaves spread, making even the 9th grade array shake from how much power was unleashed. Elder Yuan and Rin Xiaoyan were tangled up for now, unable to make a winner clear so soon. Xiao Yue looked from the side, feeling like not even sect leader Rin could keep him safe, and wanted to slip away, but Elder Yuan shouted, Impermanence 5, grab that degenerate disciple. Yes, sir. Impermanence 5 shouted and released their vicissitude domain, trapping Xiao Yue as countless green lights wrapped around him. Curses! Xiao Yue hurriedly made a sign, calling for a flood dragon. His soul, it was not up to Earth Dragon Soul standard, but it was still a top beast soul. The Impermanence 5 would have a hard time for a while in this room. Elder Yuan and Impermanence 5 were fighting with Heaven Trailing sect leader and a traitor. Outside it, Fires and chaos reigned as bodies piled up. Heaven Trailing Sect was a middle three sect with tons of experts, adding to that mystical Heaven Sect hellbent on revenge, and Venerable Sure working behind the scenes. Venerable Bai's faction was caught unprepared under the sudden onslaught. They had no power to fight back, only dying one after the other, with a wail or a pleading for mercy. The best in the sect, High Venerable, was now caught up in a fight with Ren Shaoyan. The second Venerable Sure, was a traitor, joining their killing. Who could save them now? At the brink of despair, they could only breathe their lives in this hell. Curses! Why is there an enemy attack? Why hasn't the sect array given a sign, Ack? What's going on? Why are there so many enemies? Save me. Help! What ugh? Wails reigned as sect leader Xian led the charge in a crazed assault. Kill them with joy. Kill them good. Let them pay for ruining Mystical Heaven Sect, for killing my son. I won't let any of them escape. Kill them to the last man. Ha ha ha. Venerable Sure was silent at the side, just fiddling with his beard. The elders and venerables behind him sighed. They were from the inner sect and against the labor office, but they were from the same sect. Seeing their own people slaughtered filled them with pain. Sect leader Xian is enjoying his revenge, so why are you here to watch this hellish brutality? A cold voice reached Venerable Sure's ear. Moreover, the dead are all part of your sect. Even if you have differences, they're on the same side. Shouldn't you at least not want to see the disciple fall like this? Venerable Sure shook and looked back and shouted, "Why you?" Chapter 784, Heaven Trailing Sword. Chapter 784, Heaven Trailing Sword. Proofreader, Papatonks. Heaven Trailing Sword of the One Sword, 5 Dragons. Appearing before Venerable Sure was a cold man in his 30s. He had sharp brows and shining eyes. With but a hint of white on his temples, he gulped. He might look young, but Venerable Sure knew that he was as strong as High Venerable, known as Heaven Trailing Sword, and even above the 5 dragons, High Venerable was part of. He never thought that since this operation was a cinch with the two sides joining up, Heaven Trailing Sect would send such a powerhouse here as well to make sure everything run like clockwork. Venerable Sure hurriedly bowed. "Forgive me for not being there to welcome you, Senior. I did not expect Sect Leader Ren to show so much care in our cooperation to even have Senior here. Sect Leader didn't ask me to come. I came by myself." Heaven Trailing Sword cut him off. "Rare are those in the Western Lands 9 sect that can catch my eye. While your High Venerable is of a past generation, I still respect him." Ugh. Venerable Sure tensed, and his face froze. What's that supposed to mean? Did he come to help the old coot? As long as he lives, the betrayal will be ruined. Sweating like a pig, Venerable Sure was filled with worry. The man mocked him. "No need to fret. Since it's sect leader who leads the attack, the Heaven Trailing Sect will join him as well. I, of course, won't disobey him. I only came to see him before he dies." He then showed a sad look and asked, "By the way, I heard that sect leader came to fight him. Where is he?" "In the main hall side room. Go a mile forward, and then you'll find it on your side." Venerable Sure eased a breath and guided him. The man nodded and flew away, but not before saying his last piece. "Oh, right, you still haven't answered my question. What are your thoughts on seeing your fellow people getting butchered?" Well, Venerable Sure was lost for words. The man laughed and mocked. "There used to be men in the demon scheming sect, but from now on, there won't be any more." The man was gone. Venerable Sure. Who was that man? "He's too cocky." One elder huffed, wanting to deal with him. "He was clearly mocking us. He may be from Heaven Trailing Sect, but he's too arrogant. We're working together now, but not even sect leader Ren disregarded us. Everyone stands to gain from this." "Shut your mouth." Venerable Sure glared at him and sighed. "Even in the Heaven Trailing Sect, that man is an absolute existence, only beneath sect leader. He's just like our High Venerable, if not more amazing." The man couldn't believe it. "You mean?" "Yes, he's Heaven Trailing Sect's High Venerable, Heaven Trailing Sword Xiao Yinshan." Venerable Sure sighed, thinking back to when Heaven Trailing Sect was still a lower 3 sect. He alone rose the sect to be a middle 3 sect in the Double Dragon Gathering, solidifying the sect's position. That year, only he entered the Double Dragon Manor. He was a monster like Shuo Fan is today. The elder gasped. I didn't think Heaven Trailing Sect would send even him. It's too much. Our forces are more than enough. Why? Are you deaf? Didn't you hear he came by himself? Venerable Sure sighed. Heroes respect heroes. He and High Venerable had been friends back then, and now he came to send him off. The elder nodded and frowned. As long as he won't help him. Relax. Heaven Trailing Sword is most loyal to his sect. Since Heaven Trailing Sect works with us, High Venerable is their enemy. The fact he came only assures of our success. Grinning evilly, Venerable Sure said, High Venerable is dead for sure. The others nodded, with only sect leader Xian ignoring them completely, focused as he was on dishing out pain and death. His eyes were crazed. Kill, huh? Ever since his son died, the old coot lost his marbles, ignoring even Heaven Trailing Sword. Venerable Sure pointed, and the others sneered at the mad geezer. Meanwhile, in the room, powerful waves spread out constantly that shook the room. One more explosion. The barrier was about to give Elder Yuan, and Ren Xiaoyan fought bitterly, with every punch and kick enough to rend space and destroy everything. Such power made the impermanence 5-foot vicissitude domain shake as well and hard to maintain. Xie Weiyue was panicking at the side because he could see that sect leader Run was slipping. If he did not leave now, he would die at Elder Yuan's hand. Elder Yuan actually entered the Soul Harmony stage and became such a powerhouse. Now that he fused with the Earth Dragon Soul, he was tough as nails. Not even Ren Xiaoyan in the second layer of Soul Harmony stage could cope. Xie Weiyue's heart sank. The violent Flood Dragon Soul clawed at the vicissitude domain to get out, but it was just too strong even for the sect leader at this time. The worst happened. Bang. Elder Yuan flicked a dragon claw and slammed Ren Xiaoyan's fist away, then used this chance to land 3 heavy palms on his chest. With a groan, Ren Xiaoyan spat blood and flew backwards. Sect leader Run. Xie Weiyue cried out in fear. I'm done for. Sect leader Ren lost. Now High Venerable will come for me. As Xie Weiyue lost his grip, Impermanence 5 used this chance to send green rays at him to seal him up. Even the Flood Dragon had a howl at being stuck. Xie Weiyue jerked, and his heart sank in despair. He would soon die. Whoosh! Elder Yuan's palm struck with all his might for Ren Xiaoyan's head. To finish him for good, Ren Xiaoyan was startled and was about to dodge, but he was slow from the previous wound. He was feeling regret for coming here in person instead of sending a bunch of oldies after this old coot. Maybe he wanted to see the hidden dragon among the 5 dragons. Demon scheming sects High Venerable. He was after all the only person respected by Heaven Trailing sects. Heaven Trailing Sword. Now look what happened. This old coot was so tough that he entered Soul Harmony stage and now was about to kill him. He brought this on himself. He finally knew what it meant by curiosity. Kill the cat, not that it helped him now. Seeing the palm coming closer and the death it promised, Ren Xiaoyun's heart sank, finding hard to swallow this outcome. Whoosh. However, they saw as a flashing sword wave came, and Elder Yuan's palm did not get to touch a single hair on Ren Xiaoyan. Forced to take it back and jump teeny feet away, he then noticed his dragon scale arms were dripping blood. The armor ruined. That was just one hit. Everyone was in shock at the turn of events. Then came a cold face that stood next to Ren Xiaoyan. Those dead eyes were devoid of joy or sadness, staring at Elder Yuan. Chapter 785, Demon Without His Path. Chapter 785, Demon Without His Path. Proofreader, Papatonks. Yuan Xingong, it's been a while. So you came as well, Xiao Yinshan. Elder Yuan and Xiao Yinshan stared at each other, like old friends that hadn't seen each other in ages. But it also felt like a meeting of strangers from how cold the reception was. Ren Xiaoyan was overjoyed. High Venerable, you came just in time. This old man is in the Soul Harmony stage and harder to fight than we thought. Soul Harmony stage, is it? Xiao Yinshan rose an eyebrow. Yuan Xingong, you surprise me again. With your aptitude, I thought that ethereal stage would be the end for you. It's truly amazing you reached Soul Harmony stage. You're a miracle worker. Elder Yuan shook his head. There's nothing miraculous about it, just perseverance. All I had was endless focus to reach my goals. Yeah, but even so, you've opened my eyes. Xiao Yunshan nodded. Elder Yuan shook his head and sighed. I fear this will be the last time. Have you come to kill me? No. I only heard of the sect plan and knew you would pass away and came to see you one last time. Xiao Yunshan looked at the pale Ren Xiaoyu and then said, but by the looks of it, I'll have to intervene. Yuan Xingong, we both know each other well. The vow we made in a fit of fury is still fresh in my mind. You should know my determination. Elder Yuan nodded. All that matters is the sect. Since High Venerable decided to take my life, as its High Venerable, you must carry it out. I understand and always have. Then words are unnecessary. Our 102nd fight will also be the last. Xiao Yunshan made a flourishing gesture as he said, let us put a final end to our friendship. Elder Yuan squinted and nodded. I shall show you what I gained these years. Aha, right back at you. You won't touch a single hair on me. We'll see. Elder Yuan unleashed his power, making earthly scales cover his entire body. He went all out from the start. Even Ren Xiaoyan found it hard to breathe. He was shocked by the power he had despite being a fresh soul harmony cultivator. This coot is strong. Xiao Yunshan's eyes shook. I knew you won't let me down. Then I should get to it as well and give you a proper parting. Xiao Yunshan showed his power as well, releasing bidding winds. He drew out 2 fingers, and the sharpness his body had was enough to cut the world heaven-trailing sword, the invincible. None could stand up to that sword. This was his power, as the best of the one-sword 5 dragons. Elder Yuan's eyes shook and sighed. Heaven-trailing sword indeed. He knew what would come next, but his determination was firm. He shouted and charged with a draconic roar. Immense power exploded, and ruining the room, Xiao Yunshan charged as well. Meeting him halfway, the 2 crossed each other then stopped. There was no boom and no sign anything happened. Yet the outcome was already obvious, but the speed was too fast for any to see. Elder Yuan fell to one knee as blood seeped from his mouth. But his face was still the same. Having known how it would end behind him, Xiao Yunshan stood there on his 2 feet, with a little blood on his fingers from Elder Yuan. Lost in the end. Elder Yuan's eyes grew hazy. You still won, just like every other fight we had. Xiao Yunshan remained silent. His face calm. Ren Xiaoyan was overjoyed. High Venerable was so powerful to defeat such a thorn so easily. He really was the heaven-trailing sword. Xiaoyu was cackling. You're finally done for, old man. Humph. With heaven-trailing sect helping me, none can touch me. Elder Yuan frowned, and his weak body stood straight. His fist clenched. Xiaoyu, even if I die today, I will take you down with me. Gnashing his teeth, Elder Yuan exploded with power as he shot for Xiaoyu with a palm. Xiaoyu panicked. He was trapped by the Impermanence 5 and could not even defend himself. Ren Xiaoyan shouted, High Venerable, don't let him kill sect leader Xia, or High Venerable will suffer. Elder Yuan was about to strike Xiaoyu, but then he spat blood as he slumped to the ground behind him. Xiao Yunshan's 2 fingers released a sharp glow with a cold face. High Venerable. Impermanence 5 cried out. Just then, a boom came, and the vicissitude domain crumbled with the 5 elders blown away. Ren Xiaoyan laughed and flicked his fist covered in Yuan Qi as he sneered at them. He turned a smile to Xiaoyu. Sect leader Xia, you're all right? Thank you. Sect leader Ren, I am. Cupping his hands, Xiaoyu sighed, then mocked Elder Yuan. High Venerable, sorry to disappoint, but you never got to kill me. From now on, Demon Scheming Sect is mine. No matter who it is that tries to fight me, he will die, even you. Xiaoyu raised his hand, and a black claw formed and was sent towards the defenseless Impermanence 5. Coughing blood, Impermanence 5 lost their lives, leaving only Elder Shi's last words. High Venerable, us brothers will go on ahead. Plop! Their bodies fell to the ground with a resounding sound. High Venerable heard it, yet his face remained flat. He forced himself to sit, showing a happy smile. Xiao Yunshan, after not having seen for so long, allow me to tell you something. I have another disciple, a true genius. The day will come that he would surpass all other geniuses. I am a waste, but I have a true genius disciple. Smart, filial, reasonable, and dignified. Elder Yuan's eyes grew moist, feeling he would not see his disciple again. But he did not get to finish as he turned to Xie Wuyue and gnashed his teeth in anger. Xie Wuyue, you're only a demon without his path. Demon scheming sect will one day be condemned under you. Shut it, geezer. Demon scheming sect is now a middle three sect under my rule. Zhua Fan has nothing to do with it. He's nothing but a pawn of mine. Only I could take demon scheming sect to the top. Why won't you believe me? Xie Wuyue was angry, shaking Elder Yuan's shoulders and shouting at him. But Elder Yuan could no longer hear as blood fell from his mouth, his eyes still smiling. Elder Yuan had passed away looking at Elder Yuan's body. Xiao Yunshan turned to Xiao Yunshan's crazed look and sighed. Yuan Xingong, how sad you left nothing behind, ugh. He suddenly clutched his belly and spat blood. High Venerable, what's wrong? Ren Xiaoyan cried. Xiao Yunshan waved him off and looked at Elder Yuan with laughter. Yuan Xingong, it's almost been 1,000 years and 101 fights, but this time I had lost to you. I take it back. You're not useless, but a true genius in the Western lands, a genius worthy of entering Double Dragon Manor. Overcome with sadness, Xiao Yunshan sighed, and left Ren Xiaoyan saw Xie Wuyue was still lost in his insanity and figured the matter was done. Ignoring him and going after High Venerable meanwhile, the slaughter outside went on, endlessly. Chapter 786, Master and Disciple. Chapter 786, Master and Disciple. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the middle of the night, a blaze reached the heavens coming out of the main hall. Xiao Yunshan observed the hellish scenery around, accompanied by an endless strings of wails and cries of agony. His heart sighed with disappointment. Ren Xiaoyan came from behind to stand next to him. He bowed. High Venerable, is it possible that you and demon scheming sects High Venerable were friends? Why would you care so much that he died? If you really were friends, why? Kill him. Ren Xiaoyan finished his thought, then frowned. We're not friends, but the opposite, bitter rivals. Rivals? Yes, rivals that have been fighting for 1,000 years. Xiao Yunshan sighed, looking at the sky as he recalled those times. When heaven-trailing sect and demon-scheming sect sent their disciples to compete, I was the best then and had defeated everyone. Even elites would quiver at the mere whisper of my name. In the arena, most of them would lose before they even struck. While I was filled with vigor and power, the demon-scheming sect's team was like a bunch of rats. But then he came. Demon-scheming sect's High Venerable. But he was no venerable then, not even a normal disciple, just a laborer. Xiao Yunshan smiled. One laborer actually dared to challenge me. Like anyone else in my position, I looked down on him and mocked him, only to find out at the end how much trouble he was. Not even 20 years passed, and he came challenging me again. I asked him what a laborer was trying to do, while he answered that he would definitely revitalize his sect and keep surpassing his limits. I laughed in his face, saying that I was far beyond his limit and he will never reach me. But he was stubborn regardless, fighting me again and again. I first found him amusing, so I humored him since he was easy to beat. But then I felt threatened. This kid, this laborer of poor constitution, was gaining on me one step at a time. I did not accept it and lashed out, telling him he was useless, that he couldn't touch a hair on me. In the end, he still came to fight me. I sometimes wanted to kill him. He sensed it as well and urged me, in fact. As if by killing him, I showed that I was scared of him. How was he worth it? But what came next proved I was indeed afraid he would overtake me. A laborer actually forced me to get serious about training a genius like me to reaffirm my position. Sounds like a really bad joke, but that's how it was. This is how we became bitter rivals over time. Xiao Yunshan gave a sad smile. Our fights soon evolved to being a comparison of our sections. Who will be the first to take their sect higher? He's been High Venerable of the demon-scheming sect for years and years, but our fights never stopped. I've gotten used to them over the years. Now that he's suddenly gone, I do feel a sense of loss and loneliness. Now there's no one to match my strength. Oh, I see. I didn't think demon-scheming sects High Venerable would have such a story. Truly inspiring. Ren Xiaoyan nodded. Xiao Yinshan sighed. He was amazing but failed in the end. For wealth and fame, he tore up his sect. Xia Wuiyue, with all his skills, is nothing more than a common man that won't amount to anything. Yes, only with him as sect leader can we rest easy. Aha! Ren Xiaoyan laughed. Xiao Yinshan nodded. As their adversary, the weaker they are the better. After this, Venerable sure will have Xia Wuiyue's weakness and will hardly be neutral. Middle 3 sect? Ha ha ha. It's way too soon for them. A shame for all the effort Yuan Xingong put in. Is High Venerable regretful? No. Xiao Yinshan shook his head. I did not want him to die, but for the sect's good, I had to step in and do what needed to be done. He would have done the same. This was a kind of promise between us. He understood this the best. Ren Xiaoyan sighed. These two High Venerables were men among men, looking at the bigger picture in an impressive manner, becoming rivals. It would have been a touching story in times of peace, but when the sect's interests were involved, one of them would end up as a sacrifice. Demon-scheming sect's High Venerable did not die, in fact, from Xiao Yinshan, but by Xia Wuiyue, his own disciple. The old man said something about having another disciple. He spoke with pride about him. Who is he? I'm interested to meet him. Xiao Yinshan asked. Ren Xiaoyan shook his head, bowing. High Venerable, the disciple he's talking about must be Zhuo Fan, who took Double Dragon Gathering by storm. Only, you might not see him again? Why? I heard Xiaoe saying that the Universal Righteous Sect went after him. Fine, you don't have to say it. Xiao Yinshan sighed. Since men from the superior 3 sects came forward, he has no chance. What a shame. I really wanted to see his prized disciple. Xiao Yinshan vanished from his spot, leaving Ren Xiaoyan standing there. Meanwhile, deep in a forest, Gui Hu, Qi Changlong, Kuei Lang, and other disciples all fell limp on the ground and glaring at the person in front. Lu Xie, you poisoned us. Yep. How else would your Yuan Qi get sealed? Ha ha ha. Snickering, Lu Xie mocked them as 2 inner ethereal stage elders came along, clenching his fists. Qi Changlong shouted, Lu Xie, why would you do this? You dare attack us? High Venerable will soon find out, and there's no escape for you. Baiyan threatened. The 3 laughed. High Venerable? They can hardly defend themselves, and you expect them to save you? Don't you see the chaos and smoke coming from the mountain? Humph, the labor office is finished. What are you talking about? Gui Hu shouted. Lu Xie sneered. You'll soon be dead anyway, so I might as well explain. In fact, my master and I have planned a detail just for today. The tallest tree catches the most wind. Weren't you showing off with Zhuo Fan? At the Double Dragon Gathering, you've been looking good, but that meant you earned many enemies as well. I followed Master's instructions and made contact with all the ones that hated Zhuo Fan. All for today. I bet the Universal Righteous Sect must have already gone for Zhuo Fan. Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect worked with us to destroy the Labor Office, Zhuo Fan's factions, to avoid any mishap. Such a shame the Beast Taming Sect team at the Double Dragon Gathering was destroyed, or I bet I'd get them on board too. Well, not that it mattered. Ha! You want to get other sects involved? Qi Changlong roared. Double Dragon Manor will interfere. Lu Xie waved his hand in derision. You think we didn't know about it? Since you guys came up with an excuse to attack Mystical Heaven Sect, why couldn't we as well? Humph! Zhuo Fan has only been a sect leader for just 1 day. Who'd recognize that? With Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect helping us stem the chaos in Demon Scheming Sect, Xia Wuiyue would be back as sect leader, and that made you with Zhuo Fan as traitors. How's that for logic? We're in the right here, ha ha ha. They all gnashed their teeth in hatred. They knew as well that Double Dragon Manor would not interfere in his sect's inner conflict. Also, Master had set this plan for a long time, suffering in silence. He figured that Zhuo Fan and Xia Wuiyue would at some point butt heads, just as expected. Well, isn't my master much more cunning than Zhuo Fan? Lu Xie raised a taunting eyebrow and raised his fist with Yuan Qi. Qi Changlong, I told you the best disciple in the sect will be me in the end. With you finished, all problems are solved. Bang! He didn't get to finish as 3 rays of red erupted. Lucia shook and looked down at the huge hole in his chest. Looking around, he saw the elders looking the same, only then he noticed a familiar figure. Why, Grand Elder, why? Lucia, you talk too much, or I'd have struck faster. Haha, still green in the end. Grand Elder smirked and made a sign. A falcon 100 meters big came out and struck the 2 bodies on the ground, ripping their souls apart next. The falcon grabbed the weakened Lucia, and he cried, "Wait, aren't you part of the intersect?" "Why?" "Yes, but—" Grand Elder's eyes flashed and roared. "I'm Gue, who's master first and foremost." Chapter 787. Hounded. Chapter 787. Hounded. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shriek. With a sharp cry, the falcon swooped in on Lucia. He got so scared he wanted to run right away, but that was impossible with his wounded body. To fight back was an even worse decision with his meager power, so he resorted to begging, "Wait, Grand Elder, I know Gue, who is your disciple, and never planned on harming him. You take me for a 3-year-old? Grand Elder mocked. "Gue, who is a good body, and for you to become the best in the sect, you'll have to go through him. I know perfectly well how Venerable Shur and the intersect operates. And besides, you might not harm Gue, who because of me, but what of Xia Wuyue? Humph, I know his nasty temper the most. He will leave nothing to chance, spare no one. With Gue, who being part of labor office, he won't be left alive. It's safer if I just take him away." Grand Elder's eyes flashed, he made a sign, and the falcon's talons took on a sharp glint. It passed through Lucia's body and came out holding a green spider in its claws. "Grand Elder, don't. Please, let me go." Lucia cried out in panic. He finished his pleading with a mournful cry. The spider torn apart in the falcon's claws. Lucia's eyes became empty, and he plopped on the ground. Grand Elder sneered. "Didn't I tell you? Don't take me for a 3-year-old. Was I supposed to let you live so you can come back for revenge? Humph." Grand Elder hastened over to Gue, and showed a vial. He took out recovery pills and shared them with the disciples. "This is the antidote. Take it and you'll be fine." Grand Elder spoke calmly. None hesitated and ate it in 15 minutes. They all could move again. Chi Chonglong asked, "Grand Elder, what's going on?" Lucia said, "High Venerable wanted us here for special training, but then poisoned us as we heard people dying behind us. Did they really ask outsiders to bring enemies here? What about High Venerable?" All he said was true. Grand Elder sighed. Venerable Shur planned ahead, and even brought heaven-trailing sex expert. "I fear not even High Venerable can hold on." Chi Chonglong frowned and clenched his fists in hatred. "I never thought that Venerable Shur would sell the sect for power. And that Xia Wuyue, he was the previous sect leader. He's so vile to join as well. This is called lust for power. If Xia Wuyue hadn't joined, Venerable Shur would have never do this." Grand Elder sighed. By Lien muttered, "Grand Elder, aren't you with him? Since you did this for Gue, why then didn't you notify High Venerable beforehand?" "Ba Lien, are you saying Master sold out his sect?" Gue glared at her. "Master just saved our lives." Ba Lien only stared at Grand Elder. Wanting an explanation, Grand Elder looked hurt, nodding, "Yes, I am an intersect elder with Venerable Shur. But we have different goals. Venerable Shur wants power in the sect, and I want more resources to train my disciple. In any inner conflicts, I stood by his side. But this time he sold out the sect, and I could no longer do this. However, Venerable Shur was very cautious. When dealing with the 2 sects to attack us, he not once mentioned anything to any of us in the intersect. All was done by him and Lucia. When we found out, it was already too late. I figured that when Xia Wuyue regained his seat, he will call all those that stood with Zhua Fan, Gue, who might not escape, so I turned on them. You can believe what you want, but all I've done is for my disciple." "Master," Gue, who was touched to tears, the others nodded, believing him for now. That was because they did not find any other reason why he'd save them. He only did it to save Gue, and that meant saving them as well, his friends. The more people, the more they could correlate, and the more the chances of Gue to live. This meant saving him and saving them. "Come with me. I'll sneak you out of the sect. We're on the same team now." To survive Xie Wuyue's pursuit, we must work together. Grand Elder coughed, and his face grew hard. Chi Long flicked his sleeve, his eyes filled with fire. No, my grandfather and the others. Your own life is at stake, and you have time to worry about others. Grand Elder cut him off with a yell. Heaven-trailing sect and mystical heaven sect have the place surrounded. But your grandfathers aren't weak either. Maybe they can get out. But if you go back now, they will have to look after you, and you'll drag them down. I think that saving yourselves is the best way for you to help them. Chi Changlong's mouth shook and his shoulders slumped powerlessly. Bai Lian understood his feelings and lowered her head. The rest bit their lip. Feeling hatred at being powerless, Grand Elder said, "If you got that settled, let's go. Let's go even if you're unconvinced. Staying here won't help anyone." Grand Elder took the lead, putting the roaring fire behind him. Grand Elder was right. All they could do with their meager strength was to bury their hatred deep within. They would cull these traitorous spawns in the future. Meanwhile, 10 miles off Demon's scheming sect, in a dark corner of a forest, the three fiends panted after their run. Seeing no one was behind them, they stopped to catch their breath. Curses! Just how in the hell did the sect fall so fast? Fiend Yang looked at the others in disbelief. They shook their heads. Fiend Yang frowned, looking behind him in pain. After living there for centuries, to see it gone like that. Shit, who did this? The 9 sects of Western lands? I'm going straight to Double Dragon Manor. This revenge I must have. Fiend Yang, something's wrong about this. Fiendine said, unless there's an involvement outside of Western lands, there's no way they would not listen to Double Dragon Manor's rules. Fiend Yang shouted, you mean this was done by someone from other lands? Bullshit. A shout came followed by a palm attack on his back. Startled, Fiend Yang struck back. Enemy attack. Bam! The two palm met, and Fiend Yang's fat body stood in his pot while the attacker was flung back and spat blood. Isn't he weak? Startled, Fiend Yang blinked his eyes wide and laughed. Sending someone so weak after us? They must want us to take revenge and kill them, I see. If I wasn't hurt, a fatty like you wouldn't have survived my palm. The man's white hair was in disarray, covering his face, yet easily recognized through his voice. The fiends was startled. They cried, Venerable Bai, why did you ambush me? Did you bring enemies over? Now you want to kill me? Stop playing the victim when you already know who did this. Venerable Bai roared and gnashed his teeth at the trio. Was perplexed. Venerable Bai mocked. A bunch of fakers, all of you. You and him have been pals for so long, yet you don't know his plan? If I had known, I'd killed him when we had the chance and pushed Steward Joy up. Venerable Bai was filled with regret. Who the hell are you talking about? He's talking about me. Demon scheming sect's true sect leader. A cold voice came as Xie Wuyue led a dozen ethereal stage experts over. Chapter 788, Break All Ties. Chapter 788, Break All Ties. Proofreader, Papatonks. Looking at Venerable Bai's furious glare with a cold eye, Xie Wuyue mocked. Oh, Bai, you sure is something to run so far. Men, slaughter him. Yes. The guys behind him bowed and cupped their hands. The fiends hurriedly intervened. Wait, just what is going on? Wuyue, why are you trying to kill Venerable Bai? The sect is under attack. Shouldn't we first deal with the enemy and then talk this out? Deal with the enemy? Venerable Bai disdained. Fatty Yang, I thought you were with him, appearing here to stop me. That's why I attacked. I never thought you'd be so stupid. Ha ha ha, what enemy attack? There are only traitors. Fiend Yang shook and looked in shock. What traitors? Venerable Bai smirked, looking only at Xie Wuyue with disgust. Xie Wuyue was filled with bloodlust. Oh, Bai, I am the true sect leader of Demon scheming sect. You wanted to take my seat. You are the real traitors. Rotten scum. Someone like you who brings an outside sect to kill your sect disciples and hunt down the stragglers is not fit to be a sect leader. I only requested sect leader Run and sect leader Xian's help to pacify the chaos. You forced me to do this. Xie Wuyue squinted. Where have I gone wrong? Why must you choose a kid only 5 years in the sect over me? You even changed the rules for him. Humph, your cruelty knows no bounds. You only know fear and never to be benevolent. The sect has been weak with you at the helm. You're not worthy of that seat. Demons like you have the gall to talk about kindness? We're a demonic sect. How am I to get you to fall in line, if not by being a bit harsh? What about the sect rules? Hi. Sia Wuyue, this is where you lack. Zhua Fan is also stubborn, but he does it so everyone accept his decisions. You only know how to bluster and threaten. An aimless demon like you has no future. Sia Wuyue's face twitched and clenched his fists. What path, what Tao? You're just like that old geezer. Ha. In the end, I only took another method to take back my seat, pushing Zhua Fan off it. Ha. In the end, it's just a way to make me step down and get Zhua Fan on top. Ha. Unfortunately, you'll never get the change. The final victory is me. Die. Xiao Yue charged at the weakened Venerable Bai, clawing at his chest under the savage attack. Venerable Bai's beard fluttered, but he glared in hatred at Xiao Yue with the same mocking smile, as if to say, "You were never worth being a sect leader." Xiao Yue grew outraged and put more power in his attack. Wanted to take his heart. Hold on a minute. The shout was coming from Fiend Yang, who stood between the mug. Startled, Xiao Yue halted, glaring coldly at him. "Stand down." "Wuyue, is this true?" Fiend Yang did not wait for his response. "Did you bring other sects to kill your fellow people, just to steal a seat? It's not stealing a seat when it's mine to begin with." Bam! Xiao Yue did not finish as a punch sent him 10 meters backward. Blood leaking from his mouth, Fiend Yang's fist shook. But what was more overwhelmed was his heart. "Is this what you meant by doing everything for the sect, to take it higher?" Fiend Yang roared with a shaky voice, wiping his mouth. Xiao Wuyue glared. "Since I worked for it, I have to be compensated. It makes no sense that I'd be kicked away after we became a middle three sect and let some ungrateful bastard take over. Fatty Yang, step down, or I'll put you down." Xiao Wuyue stomped forward with a cold face. The fierce bloodlust coming from him was heavy. "Fatty Yang, you were never my match." Fiend Yang raised an eyebrow and faltered, but he steeled himself and shouted, "I'm a demon-scheming sect venerable, and I won't stand and watch as my fellow sect member gets killed." "Fine, then step down. This is sect leader's order. I want to take down this traitor." "Bullshit. You're no sect leader. Not after you brought enemies and killed your fellow sect members." Fiend Yang shouted as he exploded in power. Xiao Wuyue shook and roared. "Even you betray me?" Xiao Wuyue charged. Fiend Yang's heart shook, but he gritted his teeth and made a sign. A yellow fireball appeared and smashed for Xiao Wuyue meteor. Just an earthen soul. It's truly a fit for a fatty. All empty inside and useless. Xiao Wuyue mocked. With a draconic roar, a black flood dragon came out from Xiao Wuyue. It flicked its tail and struck the fireball. When the fireball faded and returned to Fiend Yang, he shook and spat blood, being hurt so easily it showed the gap between them. "Die, fatty." Xiao Wuyue clawed at his chest with all his bloodlust. "Flood dragon claw." The other two fiends cried out, never imagining Xiao Wuyue would be so ruthless as to kill Fiend Yang, his friend for centuries, but not even they could stop Xiao Wuyue. They unleashed their souls to block, but the flood dragon's tail whipped them away and sending them coughing blood. SSS. Its sharp claws came like lightning on Fiend Yang. Xiao Yue grinned cruelly. Fiend Yang sighed and shook his head with closed eyes. "I've been overconfident when I never managed to beat you once. If I knew it would come to this, I would have never saved you." "Oh well, Bai was right. Seizing your power was better than letting the sect fall like this." "Ugh." Xiao Yue's claw halted before his chest. Xiao Wuyue remained like this, then took back his attack and simply kicked Fiend Yang ack. With a wail, Fiend Yang was sent a dozen meters away and forced to spit blood, with teeth in it. "In my tooth." Fiend Yang's mouth shook and shrieked. "Damn you, Xiao Wuyue. Kill me if you want to, but don't torture me like this. At least on account of me, saving you back then." "Fatty Yang." The shout startled Fiend Yang. He looked up to see Xiao Wuyue's cold face. Xiao Wuyue turned to the other fiends and sighed. "And you too. I'll let you off today, but the next time I see you, all ties are broken. Then I'll treat you like the traitors you are, sparing none." Xiao Wuyue flicked his sleeve and ripped it off to prove his decision, he turned around and led his men away. Only the three of them shook and looked at the sleeve on the ground with a sigh. From now on, they and Xiao Wuyue were no longer brothers. Venerable Bai took a deep breath and made a heavy bow. "Forgive me, Venerables, I misunderstood you. We're on the same side." The trio shared a bitter smile. "Yeah, we're no longer with Xiao Wuyue from here on out." They took the wounded Venerable Bai and sped away, not wanting any more pursuits. Xiao Wuyue said that he would kill them if he met them again, so the farther they went the better. At the same time, other survivors were frantically fleeing for their lives from Xiao Wuyue's men. Chapter 789, Support. Chapter 789, Support. Proofreader, Papatonks. Grandfather. In the Black Forest, the fiends were helping Venerable Bai run away under the pale moonlight. Suddenly, a cry got them all to stop and look to see Bai Lian coming over with others. Venerable Bai was relieved to see his granddaughter. "Lianer, thank God you escaped." "Well, Bai, we just met with these kids. How are you together?" Venerable Qi came out of nowhere and looked at the fiends, understanding his wariness. Venerable Bai explained what happened, making him let go of all suspicion and treat the fiends as fellow people in need. They all talked about what they knew inside at the whole story. "I never knew Venerable Sure was such a schemer," after Steward Jua. "We're just too careless." Because the inner sect calmed down, we thought they gave up, but they had us in the end. Venerable Qi growled in anger. Venerable Bai frowned. "High Venerable and sect leader Jua might be dead by now. Stragglers like us are barely numbering 50. Now that we have Xiao Wuyue hunting us, where are we to go?" In any case, Western Lands territories had already been fixed. No matter where we go, we'll either be hunted or cast out. We have no choice but to flee Western Lands and think of another place. Grand Elder shook his head. "You think it's that easy? Thousands upon thousands of miles around us belong to the Empire's 3 guardian sects. Our only way is to go through Tianyu and then Xuanrong. But there's the beast-taming sect there and the Empire's 3 guardian sects in Tianyu." "Tianyu," Yuera lit up and shouted. "Isn't Master's clan Tianyu's #1? When we attacked Mystical Heaven's sect, we fought side by side. Now that we're in danger, they have to help us." "Well," Grand Elder frowned and hesitated. "Forget it. Mortal clans are cold. They might look after us if sect leader Jua had been around, but with him gone, they would never accept us. Maybe they would sell us out the minute we meet, handing us over to Xiao Wuyue." "No way. I've met their clan head, and he's a very upright and loyal man." "Ha ha ha. Girl, you're too young. How can there be a loyal man in the world? Everyone only looks after themselves. Moreover, sect leader Jua is a demonic cultivator. With his shrewdness, his clan must be devious as well. Why would they get on the Empire's 3 guardian sects' bad side just for a bunch of stragglers?" Grand Elder shook his head. "The way I see it, we're better off not entrusting our fate to others." The others nodded as well. Only Yuer pouted and grumbled. She had been in dire straits with them and saw Luo Yunhai to be trustworthy. Venerable Bai's eyes lit up. "Maybe we should give Tianyu a try." "Ah." The others turned to him. Venerable Qi frowned. "Tianyu is part of the 3 sects' territory. It's too dangerous with so many ears about. It's because of that it's safe." Grinning, Venerable Bai was sure of it. "Think about it. Xiao Wuyue would never think we'd lay low under his nose, right in Tianyu. He'll be sending his men anywhere else. So as long as we're fast enough, we'll be out of it before they find this out and escape danger." Startled, the others gave a thumbs up, and so the group planned on using Tianyu's vast area to leave Western Lands for a new place to live. 3 months later, in a thick forest, gasps were heard as dozens of men passed through. In this time, the group had split up to lure their pursuers away, then take the long way around to Tianyu and escape. "Are we all here?" Venerable Bai shouted. They all nodded. "Venerable Bai, everyone is accounted for." "Then let's pass through Tianyu and reach Xuanrong soon." Venerable Bai nodded and took the lead. They had yet to go far before a cackle reached their ears. "A bunch of oldies think they can live after what they did in Mystical Heaven sect." Whoosh! Figures had the group surrounded as 100 experts in the ethereal stage showed their power. The group was mixed, and venerable by saw among them people from heaven trailing sect, and a few from mystical heaven sect and demon scheming sect. Curses! There's so many of them. If it were just mystical heaven sect and demon scheming sect, we might have fought our way out of this mess. But there's heaven trailing sect as well. There was no way these few men could handle so many experts. Venerable by frowned and gnashed his teeth. Ha ha ha! Venerable by, you've been the demon scheming sect for a while and should know Venerable sure's cunning. You think he couldn't figure out your plan? The safest place is the most dangerous. Ha ha ha. You sure worked hard to run us around in circles, but too bad none of us fell for it. An elder in black came out and mocked Venerable by. Knew he was an inner elder and was filled with regret. They had been going around all these days only to end up playing in their hands. Venerable by looked at Venerable Chi, who said, "Oh well, bye. Let's fight to the last." Fight? You can't do anything as you are. Grinning, the elder in black sneered. Ever since you decided on Tianyu, everything else was but a string of mistakes that settled your fate. They were outraged but helpless. This decision had indeed led them to a dead end, from which none could escape. But then a voice filled with disdain came from the forest. A mistake? Ha ha ha. That's what you've done. Coming to Tianyu was the right choice. What? The elder in black shook and looked around. Who's there? Their support. A couple dozen people, ethereal stage experts, with 5 being above the 5th layer, showed up. Yueter cried in joy. Elderly, is it really you? Snickering, Li Jingtian laughed. We came to help you. Now, attack together. Sure. Venerable Bai was excited, never imagining their ally would come to help in this dire time of need. The Luo clan was a godsend. Venerable Bai's group unleashed their power and charged while Li Jingtian's side attacked from the outside in a blink of an eye. The hunter became the hunted. Thrown into chaos, the Black Elder cried out, "Who are you to stop Tianyu's 3 guardian sects?" "Haha, I don't know much about 3 sects, just that you're blocking our guests." Elderly laughed, and slapped the man replied with a palm attack bam. Li Jingtian was both powerful and ferocious, making the demon scheming sect elder spew blood and fall back. The others were unsettled at this event, with the Luo clan's 5 experts in the lead. They were charging like a relentless force. The pursuers of Venerable Bai had no chance whatsoever. They might be 100, but the Luo clan and Venerable Bai joining forces only numbered around 60, while having a different level of quality, not lacking in power at all. No matter how many they were, when morale fell, they would only retreat finally. The pursuers were now caught in the middle, having lost their savagery, forced to scurry around and flee. Even as they did so, they could not understand why they were routed despite having more people on a far peak. A man and a woman stood. Luo clan Shadow Corps leader, Lei Yuding, and commander of Luo clan's forces. Yuming, seeing the fight was settled. Lei Yuding nodded. "It's just like you said. The elders were enough to defeat them all." In a meeting of rivals, the ferocious one has the upper hand. Yuming's eyes flashed. Sometimes a fight can be as brief as a thought, to fight or not to fight. This is enough to settle it. The elders had struck hard from the start, winning with merely 20 people. All right, our rescue mission is over. Now it's up to Lung Wuchang's plan. Yuming left, and Lei Yuding watched him go with a smile before following. Not far, in a city, Lung Wuchang and Luo Yunhai were enjoying a wee cup of tea. Chapter 790, The 3 Sages Act. Chapter 790, The 3 Sages Act. Proofreader, Papatonks. Clan head, you don't look the least bit nervous. Sitting refined in the lounge, Lung Wuchang sipped on his tea, while giving Luo Yunhai a smile. Luo Yunhai was unfazed. With Sir Lung so certain in his plan, then all must be assured. How would worry help at this point? Ha ha, clan head, you hold me in such high regard and trust. Touched, Lung Wuchang smiled. Over the years, Luo Yunhai had shown complete trust in his aides, making these old coots feel their efforts being rewarded and being loyal in return. Luo Yunhai did not speak, only smiled. Later, Footsteps were heard as Li Jingtian's booming voice echoed. "Clan head, we have brought them. Show them in." Luo Yunhai stood up and shouted in joy. Lung Wuchang smiled and stood as well the door was opened, and Li Jingtian led Venerable Bai's group to sit in the lounge. Seeing Luo Yunhai, they all showed their thanks. "Thank you, Luo clan head, for the timely rescue. Please don't mind it. Take a seat." Luo Yunhai glossed over. "The Luo clan had been brought up by Brother Zhuolong. As you are his trusted aides, then we are all on the same side. Finding out that you're in peril, it's only my duty to come help. We have fought shoulder to shoulder after all. Ha!" Luo Yunhai's bright laughter entered their ears and made them lower their heads. They were still doubtful the Luo clan was to be trusted, yet the clan head himself proved that loyalty hadn't yet died in the world. Just because of their connection with Zhuo Fan, the clan head risked his men to save them. This action of the Luo clan had painted a target on them. Becoming an enemy of the three sects, they all felt ashamed, with Venerable by taking a step forward and making a deep bow. "Luo clan head, we've dragged you into this. You could have stayed outside of the three sects' troubles, but now. Elder Bai, it's fine. Since someone wants to take out Brother Zhuo, we, the Luo clan, are already involved." Luo Yunhai's eyes flashed, his face hard. "When I became clan head, I vowed that Brother Zhuo's enemies are Luo clan's enemies. No matter who it is or how many, the Luo clan will have Brother Zhuo's back all the way." Shaking, they all were impressed by Luo Yunhai's valor. Just what kind of friendship could he have to give everything for one man, even his whole clan? No wonder Steward Zhuo wanted to give up being sect leader. This man was worth following. Venerable Bai and the others admired him. Not even in their long years in the demon scheming sect had they seen such a worthy man. To follow the demon scheming sect only cared about self-interest. While the Luo clan was a united group, now they understood why Zhuo Fan was so eager to get back. Boom! Explosions came, followed by the world shaking around them. With the lounge about to collapse, the men panicked, and Luo Yunhai frowned. He turned to Lung Wuchang with a questioning look. Lung Wuchang smiled. "Ha ha ha, easy now. There, but the pursuers attacking the defensive array." "Pursuers? Those 100 ethereal stage experts?" Startled, Venerable Qi cried. "That's bad. An average array can't hold back so many ethereal stage experts." The others grew tense and were ready to fight. At any moment, Lung Wuchang and Luo Yunhai shared a look and laughed. "It's fine. I already surmised you'd want to escape Western lands through Tianyu. That's why 3 months earlier I had men set up 18 arrays, all above 7th grade. Also, they all use sacred stones. And since the elders are overlooking it, those 100 thugs can't put a dent in it." "Thugs? Them?" Shocked, they all were flabbergasted. Who's he to call 100 ethereal stage experts thugs? Isn't he too cocky? He's only in the radiant stage, too. Maybe he's like High Venerable, hiding his power behind lower cultivation? They then looked behind to see Li Jingtian gone. Sir, may I ask?" Venerable Bai bowed. Lung Wuchang cupped his hands. "I'm Lung Wuchang of Tianyu." "What? Your unwanted contriver, one of the 3 sages?" Venerable Bai and the others were stunned. "Sir's reputation precedes you." Lung Wuchang waved his hand. "Please, as a cultivator, I am nothing to you. But as a supervisor with enough pawns in my hand, I can beat any one of you. Indeed, Sir's genius has long since been known. I never imagined you'd stay in the Luo clan." We're shocked. Venerable Bai and the others nodded. They knew that while Lung Wuchang wasn't much in terms of cultivation, but as a supervisor of the clan, he had countless people he could direct and multiply their effective power in the cultivating world. Especially in the Western lands, there were hardly many large-scale conflicts where his advantage could be used. But now, since they were hunted by 3 sects, they needed a sharp mind like Lung Wuchang more than anything, understanding their intent. Lung Wuchang smiled. "From the report Yu Ming sent, these people fled at the first sign of battle. No one can focus their power, and thus shows they are headless. They look to be made up of ethereal stage experts, but as a whole they're nothing but thugs. The best way to deal with them is in 3 clashes. First is an all-out attack. Second will be their crushed spirits, and third comes their feebleness. Afterward, they would scurry away. That's why you need not worry. They'll soon be running back home. Sir Lung, the Yu Ming you're talking about, is he perhaps insidious demon Yu Geeky's disciple? Lung Wuchang nodded. You heard of him too? Yu Geeky wanted to join the demon scheming sect to get Hell Valley an ally, but his aptitude was poor and he was disregarded. But then he became one of Tianyu's 3 sages, earning his name. To gain fame with a shrewd mind is much harder. I never thought his disciple would be with the Luo clan. No wonder the Luo clan evolved so much with 2 sages. Venerable Bai admired, and the others echoed him. Lung Wuchang and Luo Yunhai shared a smile. 15 minutes later, the booming stopped, and Yu Ming came in with the elders. Lung Wuchang asked, "Is it over? Didn't I have you strike them as they fell back to push them further?" "No point." Yu Ming shrugged. "You wanted to exhaust them completely and buy time when calling for help for Zhuge, but I have convinced them to leave. They won't be back for a while. It all worked out the same." Lung Wuchang smiled, convinced. Yes. Their group consisted of 65 from Heaven Trailing Sect, 26 from Demon Scheming Sect, and 11 from Mystical Heaven Sect. We held complete advantage over the fight and could finish them off without a problem, but that would ruin your plan, right? Ha ha ha. Yu Ming sat down. So I took it upon myself to kill the 26 from Demon Scheming Sect, heavily wound the 11 from Mystical Heaven Sect, and as for Heaven Trailing Sects, I told them I received news that we in Heaven Trailing Sect had made peace. I had them go back to their sect leader and ask him themselves. Lung Wuchang raised an eyebrow. News? Why haven't I heard of it? It should come at some point, or you wouldn't have let me fight with Heaven Trailing Sect's safety in mind. You trust him that much. As the previous Prime Minister of the Empire, foreign affairs were his strongest suit. Grinning, Yu Ming ignored the extra people around and dangled one leg over the other after taking his teacup. Lung Wuchang laughed. True, the old guy has that for him. Sir Lung, who are you talking about? Luo Yunhai was confused. Lung Wuchang's eyes flashed as he bowed. Clan head, that old guy Zhuge Changfeng had sent a message 2 months ago, saying that he'll return from visiting other nations. Steward Zhuge is coming back. Luo Yunhai cried. Lung Wuchang smiled. I have informed him of our situation and of my plan and proposed that he not return yet, but make a trip to Heaven Trailing Sect. Heaven Trailing Sect? The rest went bug-eyed. Venerable Bai was shocked. Lung Wuchang smiled. Yes, that sect. In fact, the Luo clan has a 3rd sage as well. With his silver tongue, your life should be guaranteed. Venerable Bai blinked in disbelief. I mean that with all 3 sages from Tianyu acting up, we'll turn your situation around and get the pursuit off you. Or if we had let clan head go ahead with the whole clan and be ruled by emotions, we'd never have agreed to save you so easily. Lung Wuchang shook his head. Chapter 791, Distant Allies, Close Enemies. Chapter 791, Distant Allies, Close Enemies. Proofreader, Papatonks. Tap tap. In a dusky hall, 2 rows of faint candlelights burned gently. The only sound was the rhythmic steps of a single person sitting on the guest chair. An aged man was sipping on his tea as the footsteps came. He placed the cup down on the table and waited. The grand steward of the best clan in Tianyu, Zhuge Changfeng, ha. Following the bright laughter, a sturdy middle-aged man came out from the shadows and into the light, taking the seat of honor. Heaven Trailing Sect leader Rin Xiao. Yesterday, Tianyu Empire's prime minister, and now Luo clan's first steward. The title might have changed, but the power is no less than that of a prime minister. Zhuge Changfeng, what are you doing here instead of minding Tianyu's affairs? Zhuge Changfeng stood up and made a light bow. Sect leader Run. Heaven Trailing Sect is the head of the Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, and I am ashamed to say that in all my decades as prime minister and now steward of Luo clan, I have failed in paying my respects to your glorious sect. Secular clans and sects hardly ever meet. No apology needed. Ren Xiaoyan waved his hand. I wonder what brought on this visit from miles away. Zhuge Changfeng smiled and bowed again. I shall be frank, sect leader. I have come with a defined purpose in mind. I am before sect leader with a request. What is it? Rin Xiaoyan raised an eyebrow. Zhuge Changfeng's eyes flashed. I hope that sect leader Rin may be willing to go easy on the demon scheming sect traitors. Oh, Rin Xiaoyan stared hard at Zhuge Changfeng's tranquil gaze, then mocked. You're from Tianyu but nonetheless informed. You heard of Western Land's 9 sects affairs quite fast. But why do you want to save them? Is it for your previous steward, Zhuo Fan? Rin Xiaoyan's tone dropped and became chilling, one word out of line, and Zhuge Changfeng would find himself gone from this world. Zhuge Changfeng smiled still and nodded, in a way but not fully. How so? Of course there's the respect and gratitude towards Steward Zhuo's former efforts. Even if strays, they were once under Steward Zhuo's wing, and we have to lend a hand, lest we be taken as ingrates. Sir must know by now of our young clan head's personality, holding loyalty above all else. By not doing this now, it will harm his name. Squinting, Ren Xiaoyan sneered. So what you're telling me is that the Luo clan is helping the traitors for their reputation. Rin Xiaoyun's hand flicked and bloodthirst flickered in his eyes. Not entirely, since there's still respect for the previous steward Zhuo, even if not enough to warrant the destruction of the clan. That's why it's most out of reputation. The world is filled with people striving for fame, and our clan head is no exception. Zhuge Changfeng chuckled and sighed. Over the years, Tianyu has flourished and, in turn, filled the 3 sects' coffers, with the tribute growing yearly. Sect leader Ren is sure to know this. Why? All because of the Luo alliance, drawing in dozens of clans, big and small, from the nearby nations and empires. But why could the Luo alliance attract so many people? It is without a doubt our clan heads' righteous and loyal nature that set their minds at ease. This is a reputation we have to protect and, most of all, make excessive use of it. Rin Xiaoyun's eyes shook and his hand stopped to ponder. Zhuge Changfeng grinned. Inside, he knew very well that the wrong word would have his blood paint these walls. Rin Xiaoyan was only testing him to check just how far the Luo clan would go for Zhuo Fan alone. Just how much were the two tied up if the Luo clan still cared for Zhuo Fan, or if they were outraged over Zhuo Fan's actions. Rin Xiaoyan would have killed Zhuge Changfeng then and there. Following with the Luo clan, he had no intention of fostering a group of enemies, however. Zhuge Changfeng's answer was smooth, avoiding all pitfalls. If he had said there was no loyalty for Zhuo Fan left, then it would have been an outright lie. Zhuo Fan had been the Luo clan's previous steward that made the Luo clan what it was today. Yet the clan would just ignore all that. Rin Xiaoyan would have slapped him in the hereafter where he stood. Zhuge Changfeng was shrewder than most, saying there was some loyalty left, but not the main cause for the clan's decision. We're not disregarding Zhuo Fan's gratitude, just thinking of profits. Furthermore, we're using that bit of loyalty to earn even more by making use of a reputation. This was enough to get Ren Xiaoyan to relax. Since they held interests above their past relations, he put them getting revenge for Zhuo Fan at the back of his mind. They had nothing to gain by fighting heaven-trailing sect anyway, as a man with an eye for profit himself. There was no way they would risk it all just for Zhuo Fan's hatred to be sated. That was what made this line so believable. It appealed to his own principles, while a Luo clan without an ounce of gratitude would have been worse. Totally unreliable. He only wanted to see what the Luo clan cared about. Happy to know now that it was Prof. Zhuge Changfeng was also sharp in pointing out Tianyu was doing so much better now. You Guardian sects get almost double every year. All because of the Luo clan. Without us, you'd end up starving. This struck where it hurt the most and made him withdraw his impulse of slapping the Luo clan's envoy dead. So, your request to let the traitors go was all about keeping your loyal reputation? Rin Xiaoyan probed after a pause. I have promised sect leader Xie to cull any traitors. Zhuge Changfeng shook his head. Sect leader Ren, I would have never taken the risk if it was just merely out of reputation. We want to take them because we will fight the demon scheming sect. What? Ren Xiaoyun's eyes bugged out, his hand tightened with bloodthirst. A secular clan wants to fight a sect? What a joke! Ren Xiaoyun was enraged. His heart was once again beating frantically. Heaven Trailing Sect was in cahoots with the demon scheming sect right now. Fighting them was fighting Heaven Trailing Sect. No. The Luo clan still cares about getting revenge for Zhuge Fan. Zhuge Changfeng read him like a book, sighing dramatically. Sect leader run. That's not my meaning at all. We, of course, would want to live at peace with the three sects for thousands of years to come. But that doesn't mean the demon scheming sect wants to. I heard that the demon scheming sect leader Xia Wuyue has a nasty temper and is ruthless. He can kill Zhuge Fan all he wants, not like we can do anything. What I fear, though, is that he'll drag innocent people into this. Because Zhuge Fan came from the Luo clan, he'll cull us all. We thus have no choice but gather anyone that can help and fight to the death. As Sir knows, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The demon scheming sect traitors don't hate you and Mystical Heaven sect the most, since they already attacked Mystical Heaven sect before. The two sects coming to attack was natural. They hate Xia Wuyue with a passion. So we must work together and resist the demon scheming sect. Oh, so that's how it is. Ren Xiaoyun eased a breath. Luo clan is using its power to defend itself, not target demon scheming sect specifically in our alliance. This made him relax. He did not notice that Zhuge Changfeng's wording made it so venerable Bai's group hated only Xia Wuyue. Keeping Heaven Trailing Sect out of it, this was how Ren Xiaoyun decided to let them be when he joined Xia Wuyue in culling everyone. He feared retaliation. And since he had nothing against them to begin with, why push things so far? Besides, these men might become a weapon to keep demon scheming sect in check. Ren Xiaoyun thus made his decision, but he decided to play along for now, frowning. In the end, letting them go is up to the demon scheming sect. Heaven Trailing Sect can do it, but I can't say the same about demon scheming sect. Ha ha ha. Sect leader run. Who doesn't know that Heaven Trailing Sect is the leader in the Empire's 3 guardian sections? Would the other 2 sect go against your word? Zhuge Changfeng praised. I'll be frank here, Demon Scheming Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect are nothing more than dying dogs. Can they still be part of the guardian sects? Especially Demon Scheming Sect, after that calamity, how many experts does it have? How can it protect Tianyu? Our clan had decided to cut 10% out of their tribute and give it to Heaven Trailing Sect. Shaken up, Ren Xiaoyun's heart burst with joy, but he didn't let it show. How can we? They have been through so much pain in doing this. Sect leader run. No need to be polite. Those capable always earn more. With the demon scheming sect's miserable state, it's not worth 20% of Tianyu's resources. Tianyu's safety would in the end depend on Heaven Trailing Sect. Zhuge Changfeng cupped his hands as he finished his speech. Ren Xiaoyun frowned in fake anger. Are you trying to turn the 3 sects on each other? Demon Scheming Sect is about to become a middle 3 sect. Sect leader run. Zhuge Changfeng cut him off with sneer. After such an event, regardless of power and fame, would it still be fit to be a middle 3 sect? Ren Xiaoyun jerked awake and then laughed before slapping his shoulder. Ah! Chapter 792, Revenge. Chapter 792, Revenge. Proofreader, Papatonks. That settles it. Sect leader run. Will someone look at this year's shares? Zhuge Changfeng made a bow and gave a smile that was easy to understand. Ren Xiaoyun nodded. The flourishing of Tianyu depends on your Luo clan. Don't worry. As the Empire's 3 guardian sects, no one will dare to stir chaos in Tianyu. Not even from the 3 sections. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Sect leader run. With another deep bow, Zhuge Changfeng withdrew from the hall. Seeing him go, Ren Xiaoyun nodded, feeling pleased with himself. From now on, the demon scheming sect would cease to be a threat to him, while Tianyu's representative was now under Heaven Trailing Sect. Tianyu's resources, even trades, all would be in Heaven Trailing Sect's pocket. The other 2 sects? Humph! They dare think about my money when they're hanging by a thread? In all honesty, After all this chaos Zhua Fan stirred up, the mystical heaven sect ended up ruined, while the demon scheming sect crippled. Only heaven trailing sect was the big winner here, taking all of Tianyu's income for himself. I've won big time in this, haha. Rin Xiaoyan was giddy on the inside, then shouted, "Guard!" "Yes, sir." A man in black up and appeared in a bow. Rin Xiaoyan spoke. "Use ascending jade to tell the pursuers of the demon scheming sect remnants to come back. Also, use my name to warn the demon scheming sect and mystical heaven sect that they are forbidden from interfering inside Tianyu and disturbing it." "Yes, sir." The man bowed again, but paused. Rin Xiaoyan frowned. "Why are you still standing there?" "Sect leader, you've been talking with that man so far, and I have yet to notify you. Actually, the pursuers of the demon scheming sect remnants have already returned." "What? Who told them to come back so soon? I didn't even get to send them a message." Rin Xiaoyan raised an eyebrow. The man hesitated. "Sect leader, from the elders recounting, they pursued the remnants at Tianyu's border when they met Luo clan's experts blocking them. They trapped the elders' team, but then let them go, telling me to tell sir that they have reached an agreement with sect leader. They were unclear and had not received sir's message, but since they were let go, they came to confirm this." Sect leader, stumped for a long time. Rin Xiaoyan came to and muttered, "They said they had a deal with me? Even if that's true, it just took effect moments ago." Rin Xiaoyan turned to where Zhuge Changfeng was gone and sighed. "They truly believed a mere old man's ramblings could persuade me. Truly cunning. The Luo clan has talents, and it keeps growing." "Sect leader," the man asked, "do I send the message?" Rin Xiaoyan gnashed his teeth. "I hate how a secular clan toyed with me, but I have to admit, Zhuge Changfeng's words moved me. Send it. Let the two sects know Tianyu's head of power, Luo clan, is heaven trailing sect's representative. It has no ties with the demon scheming sect." "Yes, sir." The man nodded and vanished, leaving Rin Xiaoyan with his muttering. "Zhuge Changfeng, the three sages, humph. I've now come to see what you are." A month later, Zhuge Changfeng was back in the Luo clan's home, Wingate City. Everyone gathered in the hall. Waiting for his news, Venerable Bai's group was the most tense, wanting to rush through Tianyu still and enter Chuanrong to escape pursuit. Luo Yinhai had to advise him many times to wait now that Steward Zhuge was back. They all gathered around, eager to know the answer. Zhuge Changfeng calmly looked at them and smiled. Milking the tense moment for all, it was worth the only ones calm were Lung Wuchang and Yuming. Sipping tea at leisure, Steward Zhuge, "How is it?" Luo Yinhai could not hold it in smirking. Zhuge Changfeng was about to speak, but Lung Wuchang put one leg over the other as he began. "Clan head, just look at his obnoxious grin. Of course he did it." "Hey, old Lung, I risked my life in mediating the problem while you just relaxed in your comfy chair." Zhuge Changfeng glared. Lung Wuchang stuck his chin out, and, "I've been making plans here. Shitty plans, more like it. You think I or Yuming can't do the same?" Zhuge Changfeng mocked. "Try having a chat with that stone-cold Rin Xiaoyan. See how you'd fare then." This time I have to agree with Steward Zhuge. He is much better at us in being a mediator. I am best at strategizing while you are at shooting your mouth. Yuming grinned. Lung Wuchang's face twitched. "Hey, are you two ganging up on me now? My tactics aren't for show." "Old Zhuge, did you divide Tianyu's resources again? Cutting 10% from the demon scheming sect and adding to heaven trailing sect? Hee. I'm not an unwanted contriver for nothing. Since when was it your plan?" Zhuge Changfeng mocked. "Since the demon scheming sect wants to fight us, there's no point in holding back at all. And we needed a new cover too. Giving 10% to heaven trailing sect will make the two sects look cross, but demon scheming sect's hatred will turn on heaven trailing sect, while mystical heaven sect's unchanged income would make it look from the side at their scuffle. This way, it won't mind us as well. Adding heaven trailing sect's cover to that, the matter is settled." "Really, Steward Zhuge, is it really over?" Luo Yinhai cheered. Zhuge Changfeng nodded. "Of course, clan head can rest easy. It wasn't much anyway, far more relaxed than Tianyu's previous tangled mess. First of all, the three sects aren't being difficult. especially heaven-trailing sect. It sent troops to help the demon-scheming sect, but it was only to control their growth. With it becoming a middle three sect, it posed a threat to heaven-trailing sect. It was not for some meager 5,000 sacred stones, but to make sure that never happened, even going against Double Dragon Manor's rules openly, since he has a goal, then that made it easier. Now that we're on his side, suppressing the demon-scheming sect together was sure to put a wide smile on his face. And to avoid the demon-scheming sect from being up against the wall, we only took just 10%, making it turn on heaven-trailing sect as well, and not us. Otherwise, if we had cut every supply with it, it would be against Western lands' rules and force it to invade Tianyu. At least with some income from us, they'd think twice about ruining Tianyu. This makes us appear more neutral. Lung Wuchang explained Zhuge Chongfeng mocked. Easier said than done. Implementing it has a lot of dangers. Sir Lung, if it had been you who went, you'd have been obliterated. Hey, Lung Wuchang, shouted. Luo Yunhai smiled as he eased up the tension. While none of these intellectuals boasted they were the best, neither was about to back down. Always butting heads when he met Venerable Byside was stumped. They had been hounded by 3 sects, yet the matter had been solved just like that. This was the power of the 3 sages looking at them bickering. With Luo Yunhai mediating, Venerable Bai was gratified. They had little in terms of cultivation, but they had their own skills no one could surpass. All right now, we should get ready to avenge, brother. The bickering stopped, and Luo Yunhai turned serious. His eyes read the others were pensive as well. According to our scouts, Stuarjua had been under attack, resulting in an inferno for 1,000 miles and a barren wasteland for many more. Lung Wuchang grumbled. Just what has the universal righteous sect done? Zhuge Chongfeng muttered. For revenge, we must first gather our strength. Our enemies are 4 sects, with one being a superior 3 sect. You still want revenge? Venerable Bai looked at them in disbelief. The enemy is stronger than you can imagine, a sect for thousands of years. Luo Yunhai shouted. No matter who it is, this vengeance shall be paid in full. The Luo clan rose under Brother Shua's protection. We all owe him our lives. This is something we must do. Luo Yunhai's bold words echoed in everyone's ears. Venerable Bai shouted. Then, count us in as well. Chapter 793. Price. Chapter 793. Price. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the silent and cold hall, the glorious and dazzling throne struck a lonely figure. Xiaohua sat there, running his hands over its cold texture with a pleased grin. This seat is finally mine again. Sect leader, an aged voice came from behind. It's been months since we last heard of anything from the men we sent to pursue those traitors in Tianyu. I fear. Xia Wuyue's brow shook. Tianyu? Humph. Almost forgot that Zhua Fan came from there. Those ignorant fools must have sided with the traitors. How else could those weak fools escape from my palm? Venerable Sure, contact Heaven Trailing Sect and Mystical Heaven Sect to send more men. It's time we change our representative in Tianyu. Yes, sir. Venerable Sure nodded and was about to withdraw when a disciple rushed inside. He presented a jade. Sect leader, Double Dragon Manor sent word. Double Dragon Manor? Xia Wuyue mocked. Just what has that universal righteous sect done? They even let those girls escape and report to Double Dragon Manor. Not that it matters. Humph. Double Dragon Manor's elders are coming to investigate. We'll just stick to our story, making them the traitors. I have been sect leader for centuries. It's the least my status can do. The only one who could speak up, High Venerable, have been silenced forever. They can look into us all they want. It'll still be as I say it. This has been an internal fight, resulting in the death of High Venerable. They won't meddle in that. Ha! Venerable Sure nodded. Sect leader is brilliant. Yes. Xia Wuyue nodded, looking smug. Then he read the jade and burst out laughing. It's just like I thought. Double Dragon Manor warns us not to go too far. What worry can I have when they won't do anything? Ha! The jade slip was thrown to the ground like trash, and Xiaohua mocked. Venerable Sure smiled. Sect leader, Double Dragon Manor has been respected by the 9 sects because of their strength, but also fairness, not involving itself in a sex matter. This is also what ties its hands. As long as we paint it as having traitors, they can't do anything, or who would have respected them, turning the entire Western lands into chaos. This is something they want to avoid at all costs. You're right, Venerable Sure. The plan has been thought out, huh? Xiaoyu waved his hand. Get it done. Make sure you get those dregs tied to Zhuofan. Report. Another shout came followed by another disciple. He held a jade slip as he bowed. Xiaoyu was dubious as to who would send one now, but after reading it, his rage blew. He smashed the jade to the ground and cursed. Damn that Sangha Empire! Only months before they begged demon scheming sex men to come, and now they go back on their words, refusing us. Is it the great empire of the previous Superior 3 sect, Universal Righteous Sect? Those rotten bastards. Xiaoyu cursed. I never thought a great empire would actually resort to being so shameless. Venerable Sure scratched his nose and shook his head. Report. Then came a long string of shouts as disciples came in one after the other before Xiaoyu had a sinking feeling, but took them one at a time. Yet after each one, his anger only spiked higher before smashing them to pieces. This is absurd. What's going on with all of these empires? We've talked and agreed on something to be under our protection. Now, they're all backing out? Even those middle 3 sects empires I ignored when the superior 3 sects empires were fighting over us, now dislike us. Just what the hell is going on here? Sect leader. Venerable Sure was quite calm. Maybe they think that without Zhuofan, there's no growth. Xiaoyu glared at him. What did you say? They did it for Zhuofan? No way. Demon scheming sect leader is me, Xiaoyu. Sect leader, stop lying to yourself. Venerable Sure shook his head. Zhuofan showed off in the Double Dragon Gathering, destined to be the best in Western lands. Those empires were fighting to be under his wing, not under a lower 3 sect meant to grow into a middle 3 sect. Without Zhuofan, our value dropped sharply, making them back down. Shut your mouth. Xiaoyu spat. You dare say that? Don't forget the sect has reached middle 3 sect status under my rule. Venerable Sure nodded. Yes, sect leader had done great things, but your greatest achievement was bringing Zhuofan. Xiaoyu's face twitched, about to spit blood. Sect leader, I'm not here to criticize you, but as a sect leader you need to understand your limits. Venerable Sure laughed. To be fair, I must agree on Zhuofan replacing you. High Venerable had made the right choice. You became a sect leader to begin with because there was no one else better. Now that one appeared, a change was in order. As to why I've been always against Zhuofan, wanting to kill him, that's because he's my enemy. But regarding competence, I admire him wholly. Venerable Sure. Also, Venerable Sure snickered as Xiaoyu shouted, Sect leader, your temper better change. As you know, the entire sect is now made up of us, old guys. I help you get your seat. Now just sit on it and not stir things up like before. When you want something that's not yours to begin with, there's always a price to pay. Ha ha. Xiaoyu was livid from anger, glaring as Venerable Sure just walked away. He then slumped in his lone and cold throne. He got his seat, but that was it. Report. Yet another disciple rushed in and Venerable Sure blocked him. Let me take those jade slips. Sect leader needn't bother. Yes. The disciple nodded and Xiaoyu shook in rage and powerlessness reading it. Venerable Sure pondered before saying, Sect leader Run is telling us not to make a scene in Tianyu and upset the peace between the 3 sections. And that from now on, Tianyu's tribute to us is 10% lower. What? Xiaoyu jumped to his feet. Venerable Sure sighed, flicking the jade slip backward as he walked away. It seems Tianyu has some smart people to string heaven-trailing sect along. Meanwhile, in Blackwind Mountain, as a show of good faith, Luo Yinhai took Venerable Bai's group to where war puppets were made, in the bunker. But war puppets were no longer here, replaced now by a sparkling mountain of crystals, scared stones. Fiend Yang cried out, How did you get so many? Luo Yunhai looked at him perplexed. This is a lot? After attacking Mystical Heaven Sect, Brother Zhua saw our heavy losses and gave us 1,000,000 of these rocks, saying they had way more spiritual energy than common spirit stones. They should help us raise many experts in a short time and recoup our losses. I was not sure what he meant then, though they sure have some good uses. We just put them all here in bunker for a couple of days and already had a good few Radiant Stage Elders enter Ethereal Stage. Using them for arrays, they also boost their power quite a bit. 1,000,000. Face twitching, Fiend Yang grabbed Luo Yunhai's hands, touched to tears. Luo clan head, will follow you. I bet only Double Dragon Manor would have so many sacred stones in Western lands. No Superior 3 sect could come close. With these resources, our power will rise higher and higher. Damn that Shua fan. He lied to us, whining on his poverty, that cheapskate, when he could take out so many. If I knew, what was the point of going to Double Dragon Gathering anyway? The others nodded. Then they crowded around Luo Yunhai, proclaiming their lifelong allegiance to the Luo clan. Luo Yunhai nodded in reflex, still shocked. Are these baubles that enticing? Seeing them so lively, two figures left the bunker in silence. They looked at the setting sun in sadness. Shuanger noticed her grief and said, "Don't worry, Sister Yin Chong. With so many sacred stones, Brother Zhuo will be avenged." What's the point? It won't bring him back. Tearing up, Luo Yunchang's empty eyes reflected the fading twilight. In the Double Dragon Manor, Chu Qingsheng and the two girls watched the same sun. Their eyes filled with unwillingness. Footsteps were heard as Wu Qingxiu came from behind. "Miss Chu, are you dissatisfied with Double Dragon Manor's method? Who here isn't? Brother Zhua's death is unjust, but we must also take into account Double Dragon Manor's stance. It involves 4 sections. Then there's grave news from Eastern lands and their unrest. The exalted have no choice but to settle Western lands first." Clenching her teeth, Chu Qingsheng said nothing, her eyes hazy from tears of hatred. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.